of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Callahan?
Present.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Present.
Commissioner Lees? Commissioner Brooks?
Present.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Present.
Commissioner De Pasquale? Chairman Morelli?
Present.
Commissioner Lees and De Pasquale are absent. Let the record indicate the presence of Deputy Corporation Counsel Joseph Lupo. Case number 3452, application of Gregory and Michael Cinto of 542 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7K expanding use.
Let me switch that mic. We had some issues. All right. Thank you.
Let me just read that again. Case number 3452, application of Gregory and Michael Cinto of 542 East Hudson Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7K expanding use, 9-105.7C front yard, 9-105.7D side yard, 9-1121 off-street parking, in order to convert a one-family house into a two-family house with additions at 538 East Hutchins Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 167, Lot 21, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Who will introduce a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion
Commissioner
to grant.
Commissioner Alvarado has introduced a motion to grant the application. Who will second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Callahan has seconded the motion. Commissioner Callahan?
Grant.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Abstain.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted. Case number 3352, application of Mitchell and Nancy Griebel of 231 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8 use, 9-1121 off-street parking, for renewal of a conditional temporary variance number 3352 for a second kitchen at 231 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 61, Lot 162, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening. The applicants are present. Come on up. Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Certainly, Mitchell Griebel, 231 West Beach.
Okay. So, Mr. Griebel, the last time your temporary variance was approved was 2 years ago?
That's correct.
Okay. So just state for the record again, we could include the past hearing into the record anyway, by the number of it. But just review for us again why that second kitchen was necessary.
We have an adult son with special needs, and he resides in the first floor of our house.
Okay.
It's where he primarily lives.
Okay. And just for the record, has any of those conditions that existed changed in any way? The house has not been changed in any way. The kitchen hasn't been enlarged, and there are no other people living in the home other than what existed 2 years ago. Okay. With that in mind, do any members of the board have any questions? Would anyone in the audience? Yeah.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
Is it always just 2 years?
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a time when it was longer, but then it was changed to a 2-year process. I'm sorry that, you got to come back up here, but it's just to keep it current, So that's why we will make this brief. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak for or against this variance, this temporary conditional variance? All right, that being said, I'm going to move to grant.
I'll second.
Case number 3352, application of Mitchell and Nancy Griebel of 231 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8 use, 9-1121 off-street parking, for renewal of conditional temporary variance number 3352 for a second kitchen at 231 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 61, Lot 162, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Alvarado has seconded the motion. Commissioner Callahan?
Grant.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with conditions.
This application has been granted with the original conditions.
Good luck. Thank you. You're welcome.
Case number 3457, application of John Ashton of 7 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.19E front yard, for a front yard deck at 7 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 268, Lot 125, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Howard Curtis, architect, 241 Lansdowne Avenue, Carl Place, New York.
Okay. So, Mr. Curtis, tell us why you're here. I know that basically the code that was requiring a variance is really about the deck in the front. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right. Now, I got a couple of questions for you to kind of move this along, too, that I'm most interested in. What's the lot size on this?
40 by 45, 1,800 square feet.
Okay, so it's 40 foot.
It's 45,
I'm sorry?
55% shy
Okay.
of the requirement.
Okay, so now, what's the dimension of the deck coming off the house?
It's the typical 9-foot extension off the front, leaving 1-foot front yard.
Okay.
So the house has a current 10-foot setback.
Okay,
It does have a side deck, which is blocked out with any kind of ocean view from the
okay. So basically, what's going to happen on this 40 by 45 foot lot is we're going to be building a deck that now is going to be what is a traditional deck in, let's say, another district, which would be there's an M&E district, which, as you know, are nearby. So the deck is going to protrude about 9 feet from the front of the structure, and it's going to end 1 foot shy of the property line, with the footings being 3 feet from the property line. Am I correct?
That's 100%.
And other than that deck, which is really similar to decks that now are approved without variances in a neighboring district, there is nothing else that's going to be added or changed or put onto the house. Am I correct?
No, the.
Okay, that would require variance.
No.
Okay.
It's just this stuff.
Do any members of the board have any questions?
Just a couple of questions. Based upon your photographs, you would say that there's no undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood, correct?
No, as a matter of fact, I mean, I did bring other photographs of homes in the M zone that are typical with a front deck, some have double height decks. All south of Ocean View, within that Pennsylvania to Tennessee area, there's probably a dozen homes that this would be right in line with the character of that.
And it's not, there's no detriment to any of the other nearby properties with this, correct?
I don't believe so. There's no steps to grade. The main living on this house is on the second floor, so the deck would just be accessed on the second floor.
And there's no benefit, there's no alternative means in order to get this benefit. You would have to do this deck, correct? To get
It's the only place where we could do anything to give them the benefit.
And would you say that this request is really not that substantial in terms of?
I don't think it's substantial at all, because again, it falls right in line with what the typical deck, approval or standard is in the West End, albeit 90% of them are above ocean view, but there are, as I say, many homes like this south of ocean view.
And there's no adverse effect on the physical environment at all?
No, it's 3 footings to 4 footings in the ground, typical concrete footing, so no detriment environmentally or physically to the character of the conditions of the area.
I have no further questions.
Anyone else? Okay. In that case, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against? Come up, please. Give us your name and address, please. Let us know if you're for or against.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ashton, my husband John.
Okay.
We're the owners of 7 Delaware, so we just wanted to introduce ourselves and explain a little bit about why we wanted to have the deck built.
Okay, let us know.
Just very briefly, John and I moved out to here to Long Beach in October from Woodside, Queens, and we did so for a number of reasons. Number one, to be close to our daughter and our family who live in Long Beach, to be near the shore, and to improve our quality of life out here as opposed to in Woodside. And when we moved here, we accomplished all those things. We found Long Beach to be wonderful. The community is very people. The area is beautiful, as you all know, I'm sure, with the beaches and the water views, and we're very happy here. And our home is beautiful. It's perfect for us in many ways, and the one thing that we found that would really improve it would be to put a front deck on it in order to be able to improve our outdoor space, to see the ocean views even better, and enhance our quality of life. So we thank you. We hope you will approve our application.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Since we heard 4, I don't see anybody who wants to speak against. Nobody else has any questions. I'm going to move to grant.
Second.
Saved you some time.
Case number 3457, application of John Ashton of 7 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.19E front yard for a front yard deck at 7 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 268, Lot 125, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Markowitz has seconded the motion. Commissioner Callahan?
Grant.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted. Case number 1315, application of Jordan and Leslie Price of 150 East Penn Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance on the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.A use, 9-105.H density, 9-1121 off-street parking, for a renewal of a conditional temporary variance number 1315 for a two-family use at 150 East Penn Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 114, Lot 127, on the Nassau County Land and Tax.
Good evening, sir. Just give your name and address, please.
Jordan Price, 150 East Penn Street.
Okay. So, Mr. Price, I'm assuming you were here 2 years ago also, no?
Been here for 40 years.
Okay. No, I mean for the variance, temporary conditional every 2 years. So, just for the record, state why we granted the variance the last time, a temporary conditional variance for the second kitchen. What was the reason?
Economic reasons. It's been that way since I purchased it. We wanted to afford it. I got here. I love Long Beach. We've been here, like I said, since I was 26 years old.
Okay, so now, basically, with that second kitchen, what have you done with the kitchen? It's been used as,
Been there the full time.
okay. Has anything else changed in the home since the last time you were here? Okay, have you received any complaints from neighbors, anything of the sort, since the last time you were here? Okay. Are there any members of the board who would like to ask any questions? Okay. Are there any members of the audience who would like to come up and speak, either in favor or against? That being said, I'll move to grant a temporary conditional variance for another 2 years.
Second.
I'll second it.
Case number 1315, application of Jordan and Leslie Price of 150 East Penn Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.A use, 9-105.H density, 9-1121 off-street parking, for renewal of conditional temporary variance number 1315 for a two-family use at 150 East Penn Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 114, Lot 127, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Are the applicants present? Come up,
Chairman
please.
Morelli has introduced a motion to
Still-
grant the
Oh,
application.
still voting.
Commissioner Alvarado has seconded the motion.
Moving along.
Commissioner Callahan?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with conditions.
This application has been granted with the original conditions. Case number 3394, application of Ronald Greco and Joan Berkovitz of 15 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.19E front yard for construction of a new house at 15 Wyoming Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 267, Lot 322, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Mr. Apple.
Good evening, Chairman. Kenneth Apple, 30 West Park Avenue, Suite 202. Here tonight on behalf of the applicants, Ronald Greco and Joan Berkowitz. You able to hear me? They're the owners of the subject property at 15 Wyoming Avenue. The home, just to give you an idea, is one house from the beach. It's one house that separates us from the ocean front. We're here tonight to seek what we believe a reasonable variance from the zoning board. They're looking to build a brand-new FEMA-compliant home. They purchased this home in 2023 for about $1.3 million, and this new home's going to cost them another $1 million to construct. There's a little bit of a backstory to these applicants. Prior to purchasing this home, they owned 15 Minnesota Avenue, which was the same location on the beach, a one house on the beach. They owned it since 2002. They fully renovated that home, had zero plans to move. They love the West End, they love the view, they were right by the ocean, which they want to be. In 2015, the city of Long Beach decided to install the public bathrooms and put it right on the beach. So it completely obstructed the view. Not only did it ruin the view, but it created a huge quality of life issue on that particular beach in Minnesota, because that's where everybody went to the beach, because obviously the bathrooms were there. Otherwise, they never would have moved. This house became available. They bought it with the intention of doing the same thing and having a quiet life, and now they're looking to build a FEMA-compliant home. Back in August, these clients came to me with a particular set of plans. We reviewed them. We felt they were substantial in nature. They requested a height variance. They put them 5 feet closer to the property line than these plans were. And I suggested, and they agreed, to go back to the drawing board and come with something that would be a lot more reasonable, a lot more likely to grant, so that they can move on with their lives. So what they drew up is what we have before you tonight. We're basically seeking one variance, which is the front yard setback. In reality, we're taking the existing home and building a home that's 5 feet shorter. We're giving 10 extra feet in the back and taking 5 feet from the front. The remaining encroachments to the front yard, we're going to be 10 feet from the front yard. The remaining encroachments are through the decks. If you look at the plans, the upper deck is out further than the middle deck. That was designed on purpose to try to accommodate the neighbor to the north, who's the only one affected by this. We tried to maintain that middle deck sightline, which is where their deck is. So we set our middle deck back on purpose, to try to be considerate of the neighbor. The home to the south, which necessitated this encroachment, is actually on the property line. So we're set back from the home. We have to keep a little bit, or we're going to be completely obstructed by the home to the south.
Mr. Apple, I just want to stop you a second. So just to be clear, that home is on the property line and has been on the property line for a period of time?
Correct, so we're looking to set back, this setback.
Okay.
To go through the legal criteria, there's no undesirable change to the neighborhood. Change via this variance granted regularly by the board, particularly in this neighborhood post-storm. The deck is a normal feature on all these homes. The height is obviously not excessive. We took away the height variance. We're complying with every other code construction of this home. I do have something for the board tonight that I'd like to hand out. We had an architectural sightline drawing, which shows where our sightlines are and where the neighbor to the north sightlines are going to be. I have one for everybody. So we did that on purpose. You know, the only anticipation of an issue, like I said, this only affects the neighbor to the north. We have the sightline drawing of the architect to show the minimal impact of what we're proposing, which is why we have to do it.
This property is 100 feet deep, right? Okay. It's a 40 by 100?
But if we look at that sideline, you can see that we tried to make this as minimally impactful as possible. The second criteria is we can't achieve it by any of the feasible means. Obviously, if we set ourselves back to code, we're going to be obstructed by the house to the south. We'd like a little bit of ocean view as well. Again, this is all necessitated. They never would have moved from Minnesota if it wasn't for the bathrooms we put up by the city. We don't believe it's substantial. As I stated before, we cut back the original set of plans that were going to come before you in August or September. I did so in full consideration of the board having to make a decision. We don't believe we're going to have an adverse impact on the physical, environmental, conditions of the neighborhood. We're building a house that's going to end up being $2.3 million. They live there as a couple, they have ample parking. Again, all they want is a little bit of view of the beach, those sidelines. So we believe we came tonight with our best foot forward. We came with the original set of plans. Highly objective. And I believe it's quite satisfying concern.
Mr. Apple, so the home that's basically to their south, right? That that sight line that you now, let's say, would achieve by any deck that's smaller than how, as far as you're going out, though? Because I'm just looking at the sight line, and I'm looking at the home to their south. So their home is already out a little further towards Wyoming than the other home, right?
That's the home on the beach, that one's right to the property.
Right, but their subject property is one home off the beach. In other words, it's not the home right on the beach. There's a home to the south. So what I'm saying is it looks like from the drawing that their home, the home itself, does not, this drawing does not include the deck, right? When it says subject property, that's just the home without the deck, am I correct?
Because that's the instruction. The deck-
Right, okay. So, no, what I'm saying to you is it looks like the deck comes off the house by about how many feet? About 14 feet, 15 feet, something like that?
When it comes out more, the second floor deck is set back about 4 feet.
Right, and then how far does the top deck come out?
It comes out to, I believe it comes out within 1 foot of the property.
From the house to,
The house, it should be 14 feet.
Okay, so I'm just gonna confirm that on the drawing. So my only question is because a lot of the decks that, you know, we end up granting, like in the West End, that are on a 60 deed property, that, you know, we end up, let's say, granting, you know, 1 foot from the property line and then 3 feet on the footings. Most of those decks tend to only be like anywhere 8 to 9 feet, and I think the biggest one I ever remember was 10 feet. So my question to you is, could what they're looking to do be accomplished by like a 10-foot deck or a 12-foot deck, and does it have to be 14? That's what I'm asking.
My client's going to speak on it.
Okay.
But again, that was, Chairman, that was the top deck. The middle deck is the one that, like you said.
Right, with the sight line, you know, yeah, that would be obstructing. So that was the question that I actually had. The middle deck, you know, how far out was that gonna come in comparison to the top deck? And I understand the top deck is to maximize the view, and because it might be above, and I'm not sure that I will ask them that, if it is above the house next to it, you know, would there be an impact on that deck coming out so far on the home next to it in terms of privacy or whatever?
The deck, their deck is the height of what our middle deck.
Okay.
That's why we did, yeah, this photos.
just to make sure that's not my drawing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. At what point do you want your client to come up now and speak, or do you have more to present?
Before you do that, I just have a question. Do you have a picture of the subject property to the south? This is not it, right? Because this says to the south, but
Yes,
this is
this
not
is
the
south.
south, right?
That is the house on the south. But there's a walkway in there, all the houses are, the blue house is the one that's south.
So this picture is not taken from Wyoming?
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't do these photos.
Yeah, it would just, I think it would be good to see the sight line of the property in question that's blocking this. Right?
Happy to provide, I was on,
Yeah,
I was with my clients were on Google Earth looking at it.
I think,
The blue house is the one to the south.
I just think it would be helpful. I also think it would be helpful if this actually showed the decks, so that we can,
What's that?
yeah, that'd be good. Robin, he wants to share more stuff. Sorry.
Mr. Rockwell, we're just a little bit confused, I mean, because we're looking at the pictures and whatnot, and you had said that the subject home is one house off the beach. But based on the pictures, it seems like there's many. It's like-
Yeah,
The
like
picture's from
15
the wrong
Wyoming.
side, that's what I just said.
Those are pictures,
Sorry, Franklin, I didn't hear,
It's okay.
obviously Rocco didn't hear you either. Apologies.
Pictures are from the wrong side, that's not
Yeah.
showing
Okay.
anything.
Counsel, if you did, our house would be right here, it's taken from this wall, this whole house on the beach. It's easy.
Okay.
Okay.
That's irrelevant. Thank you.
And how deep is the deck, Mr. Apple? There's no dimensions on this plan that
Top
say.
one, I believe, is 14, the bottom one, the middle one is 10. It's 14, it's recessed from the top. One consideration, we did forego any kind of- we did consider that.
I mean, that's your option, but may I ask why?
Why we eliminated it? We really wanted to come to you with the least possible, issues. I know there's some pushback on roof decks from experience, and we just figured the simpler it was, the easier the application would be. They just want to build this house. And we waited a year to amend the plans. We had plans about 7 months. We had plans in August. Like I said, they would have had some resistance, so.
All right, I'll just get into the record that there are approximately 10 letters in support from neighbors in the approximating area.
Including the blue house to the south.
Yeah.
and the ocean.
Okay. I see that. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. I want this back for the record. All right, Mr. Apple, did you want the applicants to come up and speak?
Mr. Apple, before you go, all right, 17 Wyoming, have they objected to this?
I believe they may.
Okay,
We have, there's some letters in the file.
okay, all right, thanks.
That's why we amended the plans initially and didn't come before you. We were going to come to the board. We really tried to be as considerate as we could tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. So the applicants can come up now. Good evening, sir. Just give us your name and address.
Ron Greco, 17 Wyoming.
Okay,
Oh, what, 15?
15 Wyoming.
15 Wyoming. I'm a little nervous, sorry, guys. I'm
I'll buy that
a
too
union
if you want.
carpenter, not a public speaker. Yes, I moved to Long Beach in 2002, September. Bought a house, a little bungalow at 15 Minnesota. Was very happy. I met my wife 3 years later. I'll give you the short version. We're still married, which is good. She loved Long Beach as well. We go for walks with our dogs. We like eating in the neighborhood. We like walking everywhere we have to go. At that time, we said, let's build the house to where we want it for the rest of our lives, which we did. We were the first house to be lifted. We lifted before Sandy. We moved in May before Sandy. We were called the Flying House of Minnesota. Everybody used to come by and they could look at it like, oh my God, what's this? You know, from my construction background, I had a lot of friends in the house lifting industry, and so we were able to build a house of our dreams. We loved it. Sandy happened 5 months later, and we were fortunate. Everybody thought we had a tarot card reading that told us that the storm was coming to build our house. The neighbors are terrific. We love the neighbors of Minnesota. We used to all get together, you know, as most people do, hang out at the beach, go to each other's bar mitzvahs or christenings or what have you. Then, unbeknownst to us, they decided to put the bathroom on Minnesota, not where it was on Virginia down low, but on piles on top of the dune, right in the middle of the street. And, you know, so that was a shock. And then as the years went on, everybody knows about the bathroom being there, so when someone has a party on the beach, they were doing it at Minnesota. So then we had traffic, unbelievable traffic, people driving up, unloading everything, blocking my driveway, unloading into my driveway, people asking me if they could park in my driveway for a couple hours. And the quality of life really became miserable. So, to a point where I said, I hope it rains this weekend. You know, every holiday weekend I used to pray for rain, so I wouldn't have to go through this. You know, it wasn't the place that we originally wanted or built for ourselves. So we continue to walk dogs around the property, around Long Beach, looking for something to see what will come up. And, you know, we believe in, you know, whatever will be, And we come across this house, that's 51 Owen, we said, oh my God, this is everything that we once had. And we were fortunate enough to buy it. We were hoping to keep the existing structure. Unfortunately, it is not worthy of saving after upon further inspection, so we do have to rip it down. And, you know, now my wife, who fortunately had to retire, and hopefully I can retire in 10 years, we're looking just to build our retirement home, and something that we truly enjoy. And, you know, it's more than just me and my wife. We have family, our family from Canada come down. I hope that doesn't offend anybody. And a lot of my family members, that's where we host all our family events. So we're just looking to build our dream and retirement home. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah. So I understand what you want to do, and I'll explain to you my problem. My problem is that when people come here for variances, first of all, it runs with the land. It doesn't run with the individual. You're a very, very nice individual. But when we make a decision here, it's going to run with the land. My problem is that you're asking for something that will affect a neighbor. And it will affect that neighbor's ability to have a view, which is what you want to do. So if we turn around and grant this variance, what's to stop other people from turning around and saying, I want a view, I want an ocean view, and although it will affect my neighbor, it's not such a big deal, and I'm entitled to it too. Why is your situation different from that particular situation?
I don't think, you know, since Sandy, all the houses, it's like walking down the hallway now. You know, when you walk down the street, you know, it's, all the buildings are right up to within 10 feet. You know, the decks are right up. You know, I'm not asking to go 10 feet to the property line like every other house. I just want some view. You know, right now I don't have any view. And
I understand. How would you feel if you were 17? I mean, would you be happy that?
I understand what happened with if I was 17, because I was 15 and they put a bathroom right into to block my view. I mean, it's not a shack, it's a house that they put at the end, you know, and we had no hearing at all, no compromise, no nothing. There it is. And how would you feel if you just spent a fortune building your house and then the city throws the bathroom on, you know, with no hearing or anything, you know, like that. So that was, you know, so I understand what's happening.
Right. So you understand what that other neighbor may be going through, because now all of a sudden you're asking for a variance, and you understand that by granting this variance, we may be opening up a floodgate with everybody else asking for a variance in order to get a view of the ocean. That's my problem.
What you're stating, though, is the anomaly is that we're the only two houses, I think, in Long Beach that have a 20-foot setback in the front yard. It's like the special zoning. I don't know. I haven't seen. All the other houses are a 10-foot setback, a 30 by 60 lot.
Can I answer part of that?
Yeah, sure.
I think that if we came here with our first set of plans, your concern would have been 1,000% right, which is why we did it. One of the things I asked for when we were even considering these plans was that sightline diagram from the architect. And I believe with that, we're really not impacting the neighborhood. That's the answer to that.
Okay.
And had we come with the first set of plans, we couldn't give you that argument, it would be 1,000%, right? That's why we didn't come.
So your argument is that this is unique because although you're asking for the variance, it's not a direct impact for a neighbor. So if anybody else in the future comes,
Correct.
right, as long as it doesn't impact the neighbor.
I think the only neighbor that could be negatively impacted by this is 17 Wyoming.
Right.
With those site studies from the architect, the site diagrams, we're showing that it's not impacted. If we came out another 2 feet, we would absolutely be impacted. And that's why we need to come here with the first.
Okay. Okay, you answered my question. Thank
But
you.
Mr. Apple, with respect to the sight lines from the architect, you know, by your admission also, that rudimentary diagram doesn't include the decks. So with the decks coming out now, you know, based on that diagram that was drawn, I mean, it appeared that the front of the home was set back maybe 10, 12 feet or so, maybe even 15 feet from the actual sidewalk. But now by bringing a second and a third floor deck within 1 foot of the sidewalk, even though it's not a solid wall and that you can see through, it is an obstruction to the neighbors at 17. Sure, of course.
I did submit the decks.
Yeah.
That was the second sheet.
I didn't have that, I'm sorry. I'm
We
sorry.
also did include their deck
I see it now.
until that set of plans. So that set of plans has their deck as well. We did house-to-house deck.
I didn't see this one, I'm sorry, I didn't get a copy of this.
So this is the top deck, just going beyond with the bottom deck. It just doesn't look to scale though, because if this is gonna have 14, and the other one is coming off 10, and that 10 is still there. What's the scale?
Something like that. This comes out 14, well, this front house is set back well enough, remember?
Okay.
So like the front of the house.
That's just it, I think it's not 10. It's coming back, that's my point. It's coming back. And the house is already forward to the house. Isn't that second floor deck going to block it?
Yep.
From here coming over here.
I think they should cut this back to like 10 feet.
I assume there's no opportunity for a view from the, if you were to put a deck in the back because of that pink.
No, it's obstructed. We're actually coming off the backyard by 10 feet. And this house is 5 feet shorter than the house that currently exists.
You had mentioned a roof deck. Why were those plans scrapped?
There's been some resistance to roof decks. We really felt that coming to you with the least amount of issues and variances, we would have a better shot.
Hypothetically, a roof deck would get your client a view and not,
Probably not. We just made it high variance. Right. So we didn't want enough variance. I don't even know if we would have a great view from the roof deck because the house that was out, we'd have to say.
okay.
Raise it. You know, I think part of the concern, Mr. Apple, is that, you know, this being a new build, right, that the actual subject property to be built could be built further back, and even come even with the house at 17, and then have a comparable deck that comes out approximately 10 feet from the house as opposed to 14, and then it's really ceteris paribus in the sense that, you know, it comes out, but it's not actually blocking. They're both pretty much, you know, enjoying the same view. And it just seems a bit more courteous. And as far as the living space for the house, because there's so much more room in the backyard to actually set the house back a little bit, it's not that the applicant would have to sacrifice actual living space. Would the applicant be amenable to considering either moving the house back a bit and/or reducing the size of the deck?
I think reducing the size of the deck, yes, I just discussed that with you. The argument with the house is, the problem is because of our closer proximity to the house on Ocean View. If we move back, we have zero view. If we move up, everybody's diagonal to the view as far as the beach. If we go back to where 17 is, we're mostly obstructed by the house on the water. That's the issue. By the way, the house is, where the first house is on the water, the blue house is on the water. If everybody has a diagonal view going back, we set a little bit further back, you have a direct shot according to the site diagrams. If we go back, we're going to lose that because of our closer proximity to the house that's really out towards the street. That would be the issue, but we would be amenable to trying to do that.
The audience?
What's that?
You want to hear from the audience?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think at this point, if there are no more questions from the board, I'd really like to hear from the audience, if there's anybody for or against. Anybody want to come up? Are you for or against? For. Okay, come on up. Give us your name and address.
Steingart. Richard. Steingart. Steingart. I live at 6 Wyoming across the street from 15 Wyoming. And I hope this group can come up with some compromise because the state of 15 Wyoming right now, these are lovely people, but it is truly unsightly. It looks abandoned. There's plywood in front, there's sheathing. Something has to be done to finish the front.
What happened to that house? Was that house damaged in Sandy, or?
There was a deck there, and apparently it was unstable, and the deck was taken down.
Okay,
So now it looks like it's abandoned. And if you, I think I know these people don't want us to have it, but it really degrades the neighborhood as it currently sits.
okay, thank you, sir.
Like I've never seen another house in the West End that looks like it needs repair like this one does.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now, is there anyone else that wanted to speak? I see another hand. Come on up, please. Give us your name and address, and if you're for or against, then let us know why.
James Lynch, 17 Wyoming Avenue.
Robin,
I
is
am
the mic
against.
So you are the neighbor that is
No, is that mic on?
adjacent?
The microphone.
Okay, to the north.
Yes, it is. Can you just pull
You-
the microphone up to your, yeah.
Mr. Lynch, you are to the north, am I correct? Okay.
I'd like to read the statement and I'd like to put some of what I heard them say.
Go ahead.
We're here to express our strong opposition to the zoning variance for 15 Wyoming Avenue. We are concerned residents of the West End Long Beach community, where we have lived for almost 35 years, raising a family and serving the community as a pharmacist. We reside directly adjacent to the property in question, and our interactions with the current owners have been pleasant and see no reason why they wouldn't be good neighbors. We are not opposed to someone's dreams, but those dreams should not come at the expense of others. Zoning codes are not arbitrary and exist to protect the character of neighborhoods, property values, and overdevelopment. We believe granting the variance would have a detrimental effect on our community and set a precedent for further overdevelopment, as well as significantly impacting our ability to enjoy our own home and negatively impacting our property value. The proposed variance for the front yard would block any existing view from inside our home and the front balconies, as well as blocking ocean breezes and sunlight, severely impacting our enjoyment and quality of life. This will also have a negative effect on our property's value, as we all know homes with an ocean view command a premium. This will also reduce the off-street parking, adding more cars to our already crowded street. The average mid-size sedan do not fit the proposed parking area. The current best-selling sedan, the Toyota Camry, is 16.1 feet long, and their parking area is about 15 feet from the driveway. I see no clear significant hardship that approving this variance would alleviate. However, approval would have a severe negative impact on our home and quality of life. The existing property is big enough to accommodate a large house, and if my layman's view of the plans is correct, the house will fit on the lot without the need for a variance. Denying the variance does not take anything away from it, as they do not have it yet. And approving it does take away from our home financially, aesthetically, and our ability to enjoy what we have had for almost 35 years. In conclusion, I respectfully request that the zoning board carefully consider the potential impacts of granting this variance on our community and the impact on our house and quality of life. I believe it is in the best interest of our neighborhood to deny the variance and uphold the existing zoning regulations.
Okay.
To speak to
So, go ahead. Did you want to say something else? What I was going to ask is, at this point in time, I know that there has been some back and forth from what I hear from Mr. Apple, in the past. I mean, do you think that, and Mr. Apple, maybe you can join in on this, do you think that there could be any further discussion with your neighbor or with the neighbor before the board, votes on it? Because I get the feeling that, I don't know that the board would be prepared to vote on it tonight. And I'm not looking to put pressure on anybody, but I'm just wondering if there's some sort of resolution that maybe you folks could talk about a little bit, and maybe send us a letter before the next meeting as to whether or not you can or want to or not. And then we'll just vote on the application as it stands. And, I just thought maybe it might facilitate it if the neighbors could speak. That being said, if you want to conclude.
Well, I'm sorry that their previous house, the view was blocked by a bathroom. It's unfortunate, but it shouldn't impact any decision at this time for this.
Okay.
And I believe they're being disingenuous with their claim that their house has no view. If their house has no view, then how does my house have a view? We said it several times that they don't have a view. The view from my house is at an angle, so the 5 feet that they're talking about moving forward, plus the decks that go to 1 foot of the property line, will eliminate the view from my house.
Understood.
Just so you know, sir, with respect to the home being built 5 feet forward, we actually have no say in that. The only thing that this board has any authority to review as an appellate board is literally the setback of that deck. So that deck coming out 14 feet from the house, I think what Chairman Morelli was suggesting is if you and maybe the applicant could speak and maybe come to an agreement as maybe the 14 feet, a deck 14 feet out from the house might be a little bit much, that it really does affect your view. But maybe if they were willing to come out like 10 feet or 12 feet, maybe that wouldn't be so detrimental to you.
So what is the 20-foot setback?
So right now, this is our denial letter. What I'm looking at is literally, the only reason why they were denied is because the front yard is supposed to be 20 feet, right? They're proposing a 1-foot setback. Just because they're here for a variance, I mean, a variance is an exception to the rule, right? So this board only exists to grant exceptions, ultimately. So to say that, you know, their variance is so outstanding that nothing should be granted, I'm not certain that that's the case, but and I don't have a vote either, but I do believe that what is being asked, because of the size of the deck, and the size of that deck actually could negatively affect neighbors such as yourself, that there should be some sort of a compromise. And being that Chairman Morelli said the board probably isn't in a position to vote tonight, maybe before the next meeting, if there was something that you all could agree on that made life happy for everyone, so you could keep, you know, most of your view, they could also get a nicer view, maybe there's a happy agreement. That's all.
Well, again, they've claimed that they have no view. Probably in the record, you can read back, they said they have no view. And that is obviously incorrect. So
Okay.
I believe they're being
No,
disingenuous with what they're saying.
so we understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, just to cut to the chase and keep it simple, is 90% we're not voting on this tonight. And so, since the record is gonna remain open for a month, if you choose, and the applicant chooses to speak to each other and see if you can compromise it during the next month, and then a letter could be drafted by either the attorney or yourselves and send it to the board in consideration before we vote on it next month, we would vote on anything that was discussed by you folks and agreed to before the next meeting. Otherwise, we are going to vote as a board on what we have heard tonight. You know, and with no modification of what we are seeing tonight, that's what we're going to vote on. We're listening to testimony from, you know, the audience, and, you know, we're listening to what everybody has to say and taking that into account. But if you in any way, or the applicant, chooses to modify what's been presented tonight, that's all we're throwing out there, okay?
I understand that, but
So if not, then we're just going to vote on it as is. We've heard your testimony, and, you know, we've taken it into account.
and if I could also say that the gentleman who was in support of it, he said nothing other than the house is an eyesore and needs to be torn down, and I agree with that.
Okay,
You know,
Understood.
but their wanting a better view shouldn't take away from mine.
absolutely, I understood.
And any encroachment, that 5-foot encroachment it's like a baseball field. You move it a little bit, home plate, it's only this far from the center line, but 200-300 feet out where the ocean is, that's blocking my home view.
Understood.
And the blue house, I think they said is built to the property line. It's not, there is a side yard there. So I believe they're giving you misleading information. And
Okay.
you're making your decisions on.
Well, I think the next month would give us an opportunity to perhaps surveil the street on our own, and we could come to our own conclusions as well, so.
And it is a 40 by 100 feet lot.
No, understood.
A lot of these, what were formerly bungalows on the 30 by 60, I understand why their upper decks are going to the 1-foot line. Because when they were bungalows, they had a front deck where they could sit and by raising it up, they lost that, so.
Understood. Okay,
I'm just-
thank you very much.
Just
Anybody have any
I have
questions?
another
for me?
question for Mr. Apple. Just so I'm clear, the top deck is 14 feet, which means the front of the house is also 5 foot in front of the required setback, right?
I believe so. That's the 5-foot push-up we did. Took 10 in the back and went 5 in the front.
So even without the decks, you'd require a variance for the front of the house being,
I believe about
Short of the-
5 feet.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak? All right, do any other members of the board have any questions? The case will remain open for voting, unless anybody wants to make a motion. Okay, the case will remain open for voting.
Case number 3451, application of John and Diane Joyce of 20 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.19 A use, 9-105.19 C lot area, 9-105.19 D building area, 9-105.19 F side yard, 9-105.19 G rear yard, 9-105.19 I density, 9-113.28 off-street parking curb cut size for a new two-family house at 20 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 58, Block 116, Lot 21, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Mr. Apple.
Good evening, Kenneth Apple, 30 West Park Avenue. I have a couple of handouts for the board. This is the first one.
This is 3451.
Here's some letters.
20 Ohio, so I believe it is.
No,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it for now. You want me to wait for you, Rob?
No, go right ahead.
Here tonight on behalf of the applicants, John and Diane Joyce, 20 Ohio Avenue, Long Beach. The Joyces have owned this home for 8 years. They have a son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren a few houses away, which house they owned prior to selling it to them. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Joyce has lived on the block since 1983, where she resided, and ultimately owned 28 Ohio. They purchased 20. Their son, they could put a home on it, they sold 28 Ohio to them, so now they live in a couple houses from their son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. They made the decision to invest substantially into this home and build a few compliant homes seeking a few variances. First of all, what makes this home unique is it's in an M zone. It's on a 60 by 60 lot, and density, there's plenty of space. In the 3 M zone blocks surrounding them, there's only one home that doesn't exceed density maximum. The lot is 60 by 60 instead of 40 by 100, so an area variance would be minimal. Same with building area, it's off by 0.5%. Again, that's minimal. One of the 30 homes in the surrounding blocks of the M zone actually comply with the current building area requirements as well. So this is not something that is out of the ordinary. The side yard to the north are requesting a 2-foot setback. If you look at the current house, we're actually giving an additional 6 inches from where it sits now, moving further from the lot line. The rear yard is the same situation. It requires 20 feet from the end zone, but our current plan gives us 4 feet, which is actually 2.5 feet additional from where we currently sit. To touch on the curb cut, we currently have 20 feet from the 2 curb cuts that are on our property. We have 2 properties, or the double lot basically, 60-foot long property. The 9 feet between the curb cuts is dead space that we can really park there anyway. We're looking for a 31-foot curb cut, which exceeds code by about 6 feet. This will allow for the additional off-street parking space, which will be on that side yard to accommodate an additional car. It's a 60-foot lot. The only real difference in this set of plans is we're eliminating that 9-foot space, which is dead space anyway that we can park in. Bottom line is going to be there's really not going to be any change to the off-street parking on Ohio. To get into use, which is the challenge, the most unique part of this case is asking for a change of use. My clients and I are both cognizant of the fact that the board needs to do their precedents. This case, you might want to note, is extremely unique in the fact that this was in fact a 2-family home in the 40s. For some unknown reason, in 1988, the owner of the home came back to the zoning board to take away the two-family use and convert it to a 1-family. Why anyone would do that, I have no idea, but they did. So this home is set up as a 2-family. It's always been used that way. because even, well, they haven't rented it, but it's always been set up as a two-family, and it has two electric meters from the use of it at 40 years. The zone, the M zone used to be zoned for multiple unit dwellings. It now changed the code. We have one-family dwellings, which is the reason we're here. The change of zoning has affected the property value and has brought us here before you tonight. I passed around the M zone diagram, which shows you every home in the general area in the M zone. And you can see the number of two families that are currently existing. It's substantial. The 30 by 60 lots in the zone, there's 1 3-family, 16 2-families, 10 1-families, and 1 vacant lot. We're the only 60 by 60 lot in this entire zone that's currently not a 2-family. We're the only one within that 3-block range. Clearly, this is not going to be an undesirable change to the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, based on the lot study I gave you, it's actually going to be more conducive to the neighborhood. Every home is a 2-family home. 9 of the 10 homes to the north of us, some of them in the E zone, are all 2 families. John is retired. Diane's looking to retire. The word hardship is not going to be as likely, but this will definitely allow them to retire in this home, have supplemental income on their pension, and live in their family and live forever. Again, I think the real unique thing here is that this was in fact a 2-family. It's set up that way. I have not rented it. There's been no violations. The house has to be repaired. It's in somewhat of a state of disrepair, structural damage. They have to do this. They just want to restore it back to the 2-family status they've maintained for over 40 years. There's no undesirable change to the neighborhood. It shouldn't impact the neighbors at all. We have ample parking. All the neighbors have 2-family houses. We have letters from quite a few neighbors that we've submitted to you. Is there another feasible way to develop the property and use it for the way they want to use it? No. And I don't believe it's substantial. Like I said, it's going to bring into conformance with the surrounding homes. My client, Mrs. Joyce, would like to get up and speak and explain to you why they need this and why they want this. And we thank you for your time. Any questions before Mrs. Joyce gets up?
Okay, yeah, come on up.
You good?
I have
Sure.
questions. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer it, Mr. Lupo will be able to answer it. So originally, Zone M was 2-family, and they changed it to 1-family,
That
correct?
zone was zoned for multiple families. According to the building department, it's been changed to 1-family use.
When was the change made?
That I don't know.
Mr. Lupo, would you know when the change was made?
1988 is when the home was converted from a 2-family to a 1-family.
No, but
You're asking when, I think you were going to ask what I was going to ask, when the code was amended.
Right.
To change from a multifamily to a single-family. Unfortunately, I don't have the code in front of me that has the citation, so I
And then
don't
the
know off the
second
top of my
question
head.
is, what was the purpose of changing it from a multifamily to a 1-family?
Well, I would have to imagine, I mean, not being there or you know, at that time, probably to reduce density. Overpopulation was becoming a concern within the city, so it was probably just to maintain the character of the neighborhood as it was then, right? But it's kind of funny because the same things I think that you were thinking, I was thinking was the owner made it went from a 2-family to a 1-family, then the code changed. Now this house is in compliance, in conformance with the zoning code. Even though it was a 2-family at one time, the code was also different at that time. So it's almost like when did the homeowner purchase this house?
2017.
So they knew they purchased a single-family house at the
Correct.
time.
They did.
But but you're saying that the owner's going to come up and explain what the hardship is and why she needs the 2-family?
Yeah, I believe the hardship is down the road. I'm not going to use the word hardship loosely and present a packet to you, but they're both going to be retired. You know, and converting it back to the use it was for 40 years is going to certainly help them stay here for the rest of their lives.
True, but it's also a use that hasn't been in effect for approximately 40 years as well.
Understood.
You know, so. I'd love to
But
hear
they
from
are the only 60 by 60 lot in that radius M zone that's not a 2-family.
Understood.
No, I understand, but I just wanted to understand the purpose behind the change in the zoning code, because it would be helpful to know whether or not we should deviate from that purpose. That's all.
I was just trying to give you some distinctions with this particular property that won't set a negative precedent.
I understand. Thank you, Mr.
For that potential deviation.
Okay.
Mr. Joyce.
Good evening.
Diane Joyce, 20 Ohio Avenue. He said many
Your
things.
name and address, please.
Put your
Yeah.
name and address and just pull the microphone a little closer to you.
Yeah.
Diane Joyce, 20 Ohio Avenue. As Mr. Apple said, we bought the house in 2017, and we didn't know it was a one-family house when we bought it. I've been on that block since 1983. 4 generations of my family have lived on that block. The two-family house that we owned is now owned by my son, which is literally 4 houses away from myself. When we bought the house, I had known back in the 80s it had been a two-family house, so it never occurred to me that we would meet resistance. One of our plans was to put this into a two-family house so that we could live there and have supplemental income. From the time of purchase to even right now, LIPA has 2 100-amp electric panels, meters, and National Grid is supplying enough gas for two-family houses. The idea that we would meet resistance, as I said, didn't occur to us. Our house is almost 100 years old, and it needs to be renovated. I'm getting ready to retire from the NYC DOE Department of Education as a special education teacher. My husband is a retired NYPD sergeant. My son is a police sergeant, and his hours are not consistent. His wife does travel for business, and our intention is to retire and take care of our grandchildren. We're applying for the variances to build a FEMA and AMA compliant house with an elevator and live in it as an owner-occupied two-family house. The supplement of a rental apartment in a two-family house will assist us in our expenses. We need the ability to afford to live here to take care of the next generation without fear of losing our property due to lack of funds. As with any new build, substantial renovation, we know that we're going to get reassessed with the increase in taxes. With the two-family house, this will help us with the expenses and the taxes. The increased taxes of a two-family dwelling will contribute to, not draw from the city. I understand that one concern you may have is if you grant us the variances, many people will want to convert their one-family houses into two-family houses. However, this is an exception. It's a double lot. It's 60 by 60. It's surrounded by two-family houses. We're all in the same zone, and they're on smaller lots, 30 by 60. Additionally, it was previously designated as a two-family. A granting of these variances would only open the door and allow for people who had once been a two-family to go back to that status, and not everybody else. I also understand another problem is parking. However, between the existing curb cuts in the front of the house is only about 9 feet. You have a picture, right? And if you look at the picture, this is the house, this is where the driveway is, in between here is 9 feet. An average car, a compact car is 13 feet, a mid-size car is 14 feet, a full-size car is 15.7, and a standard car is 15 to 16 feet. No car can now fit in that spot anyway. The spot between the curb cut is too small. With the new build, the only change to the curb cut is the 9 feet between the driveways. With the plans, the parking available on the block will remain exactly the same. There will be no less parking. We're requesting that the variance number 892 from 1988 be reversed, and that 20 Ohio be changed back to a two-family house status, and that the variances related to building be granted in order to allow us to build an owner-occupied, accessible two-family house where we can live surrounded by family.
Ms. Joyce, I have a question for you.
Yes.
In consideration of what you've said, and in consideration that it may not change a whole lot going back to a two-family usage, even though, as Commissioner mentioned, it has legally been a two-family for many years, would you be willing to accept a temporary conditional variance on that property? In other words, you've come to us, we're not, obviously, it's an anticipated need. We're not asking you for financials, we're not asking you for, we would assume that both of you, NYPD and DOE, both have pensions coming in. But I understand, pensions, maybe Social Security, with taxes escalating the way they are, we get it. We're all in the same boat. And the thing is, if you could accept a temporary conditional variance that would allow you, you'd have to come up like those folks that came up before every 2 years and just tell us that nothing's changed. And, the board, and I'm not telling anybody how to vote, obviously, but the board might be more amenable to grant something like that, that at least there's a mechanism for policing it, that if, let's say, you folks did sell the house down the road, that we don't have to, something could have changed. You might want to go to Florida, who knows? But the thing is, if someone else bought the house and then tried to rent it to tenants who were not of the same caliber as you would have in the house, then we have a mechanism to correct the problem.
So just every 2 years, I would have to come back and say,
Yeah,
I'm
I
still
mean,
retired?
those people came up here, and I think you were here when they were here. I don't think I gave them any hard time when, I don't think they had to spend more than 10 minutes up here, and I think that might be reasonable. You might want to, discuss it with your attorney. If you don't want us to vote tonight, we don't have to. If you want to tell us what you want to do, that's fine too. It's up to you. I'm just throwing it out there because it just might make it a little easier.
Okay, I'm just a little confused. So if we do this for every 2 years and we are the owners and upon our demise, our family has a house, they have to transfer it back to a one-family house and pay for that expense to redo it?
Yes.
Yes.
It automatically goes back to one family?
Yeah, it
Even though
does. It go back.
the
Because
renovations
what
we
happens is,
do?
we're allowing a two-family usage
For
of a
us.
one-family home, as long as, you folks are residing there and are living there. I mean, it's not to say that if, God forbid, you folks were not here, and the kids were here, and, they're grown, and, by that time, they could be getting a little older too, and the bottom line is they could be coming and saying, well, it's our family home, it's been our family home, it's been used like this for the last 25 years, and, whatever. I mean, it's not to say that a board sitting here 25 years from now, or whenever, God forbid something happened to you guys, that they wouldn't get it anyway, you know what I mean? So, I think for the present time, it might serve, a purpose for both the city and both for you, to do that. And again, I'm not advising you what to do, I'm just presenting the alternative just for you to consider, and for your attorney to consider. And again, if you would like to leave the case open tonight, we don't have to vote tonight, we could leave it open, and you could come back with a letter and tell us that that's what you want to do or don't want to do, and then we'll just vote on it next month.
Okay,
However, so if you want to think about it, and, counsel, if you want to, discuss it with them over the month, that's fine, no pressure.
I'm gonna have them come in, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, explain everything to them, all the ramifications, and really, what's a month gonna make? I mean, it's better that everybody understands everything, and this way, if a decision is reached, and then the board has a little more information to vote on, yes, they wanna do it, no, they don't wanna do it, that's better for everybody. Okay?
I'll have them in, I just wanna, I understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
I
you
just wanna
know
make
that. I
sure
mean,
that down the road, when this house
Right,
is
right.
sold,
We
that
want
it
them
can- that easily
to not be
works.
10 years from now saying, oh, God, what did we do? We should have just gone for the full-out variance instead of this temporary conditional thing. Talk about it. I mean, at this point, we'll leave it open.
I mean, another thing is, you may be wondering, why does the city care? So, if you get a full variance for a two-family house, and then let's say you want to go to Florida or, wherever, right? You're just no longer residing in the house, then you know what, it's very easy for, and I'm not saying that this is a negative thing per se, but it's very easy for, a developer with a lot of money to just come in, knock it down, or keep it as is, and now it's just an out-of-possession landlord, and it's another rental property in Long Beach.
No, I understand, that's why I wanted to be owner occupied. I've been here since '83, I really have no intention of going anywhere, just so you know.
Understood.
Been a long time.
Circumstances change,
Yeah, yeah.
I come from an Italian family. You could have a fight with your kids and want to get off the block 2 years from now. It's happened. So, I've seen that. So anyway, I think it might just behoove everyone to just have a little time to think about it, have Mr. Rappel explain it, you and your husband, if your family discuss the ramifications, and that's it. Yeah, of course. But is that it then, Mr. Rappel? So we'll ask, if there's no questions from the board, I'm going to just ask any members of the audience if they want to come up and speak either for or against. I'm assuming from the letters that we got, there were people that were in favor, so let the record show that there were about 10 letters from people on the block who were in favor of the application of a two-family home. So that's in the record. If there's anybody against, I don't see anybody against, we're gonna leave it open until next month.
So just to be clear, we would send you a letter like normal.
That's all we need,
Agreeing to amend this.
either to amend it or not to amend it, you know? All right, that's all. And then the clients will have an opportunity to really think about it. You'll explain what you know what to explain, and that'll be it.
And just so you know, the condition would be that you and Mr. Joyce, I assume, still would, it's okay as long as you guys own and reside in the home. If either of those things change, then it goes back to a one family.
All right, good evening, folks. Good evening, Mr. Apple.
Case number 2312, application of Beach Street Commons LLC of 48 Old Country Road, Mineola, New York, and Perfetta Corp. of 20 Edison Drive, Plainview, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-106.14, new bar, for a renewal of conditional temporary variance number 2312, and to increase the length of an existing bar by 28 feet 7 inches for a total of 44 feet 6 inches at 777 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 5, Lot 101, on the Nassau County Land and Tax map.
Good evening, Mr. Apple.
Does everyone have the floor plan?
Yes.
You have it? Okay, good.
Yeah, Mr.
Here, tonight, on behalf of the applicants, 777 West Beach, I do have authorization, and I'll email it to you from the landlord regarding this application. We're seeking tonight here to obviously extend the use of the bar, Just to be clear, this premise is located on the corner of West Beach and New York Avenue. This was always a restaurant, always a bar. When I was growing up, it was Capri and Vito's. The bar's been there as long as I can remember. But since Vito's, it's sold and changed hands several times. Mateo's, a Mexican restaurant, and currently 2 different versions of an Italian restaurant, 777 and 7. All the businesses don't seem to succeed there.
Would you please speak up, get closer to the microphone? I'm having trouble hearing. Thank you.
The applicant is currently open. He's already operating. He's looking to use this place as a sports bar restaurant. They currently operate 2 other locations, similar businesses, one in Bohemia, one in Westbury. In total, they have not had any SLA complaints related to their bars and restaurants the way they currently operate. Generally, they close at midnight. That's something they've done at both locations. They plan to do that here. But they're operating now. I don't know who's been in there and who hasn't, but when you walk in, there's like a U-shaped bar and a wall that you have to actually walk around to get into the restaurant. Their plans, in order to make this functional and operate, is they're going to take that wall down, and move the bar back a little bit, which means you could walk in right through those doors and into the big location. It's a 7,000 square foot location. Unfortunately, when they do that, which is the only way to make this place functional and reasonably able to operate, is they're going to have a bar now that's open to everybody in the restaurant from behind them. All they're looking to do is enclose the bar area and add 6 seats to the bar. Of this 45-foot bar that you're going to hear about tonight, probably half of it, if not more, is going to be for service and non-seating. There's going to be a total of 17 seats in that 7,000 square foot restaurant. If you look at the plans, you can see how small the bar is compared to the restaurant. Those 4 seats on the east side are the only things we're really adding. The rest of it's going to be a service bar. Otherwise, it's not functional. They have to put refrigerators there, they have to have glasses, they have to have the ability to operate out of there, to service the rest of the restaurant. They plan to have brunch, dinner, lunch. Their place in Bohemia, they're heavily active in the community. They plan to do that here, Little League, Catholic school, whatever it may be. So
What are the
again,
bars that they operate, what are the restaurants that they operate at present in Bohemia?
what are they called?
Yeah.
They're called cans.
Is this going to be another Cannes location as
We
well?
don't know. I mean, it's the same owners, but we don't know. To be honest, like I said, this is a simple application. It's not another bar opening up. The bar's open. The restaurant's open. We don't need permission for any of that. The only thing we need permission for is to extend the bar, of which the maximum seating is going to be 17 seats, which is 6 seats more than are currently there now. And we will make that a condition to this. We're comfortable with that. We can't put any more seats there. We don't plan to have any more seats there. The occupancy is 281. Whether you give us this or not, it's 281. So it's a matter of having 264 at the tables and 17 at the bar, or having 281 at the tables. But it's not going to change the occupancy. The other extremely unique thing about this location is it's probably the only now bar in the West End, or restaurant bar in the West End that's proposed, that has parking. We have 25 spots in the lot. No other location has that. The Inn has 3 bars. You know, the Beach House or whatever, Moneyline, they have a huge bar. Jetty has a large round bar. The Saloon has 3 bars that you can drink out of. This is not going to change the neighborhood uncharacteristically. The restaurant is open. It's going to operate. Its occupancy is going to be the same. This application comes down to 6 bar stool seats and allow us to enclose the bar so the restaurant can function properly. We're going to have the architect speak, and one of the owners is going to speak and tell you why they absolutely need to be able to operate in this manner. Without this, they're going to have an open bar to the rest of the restaurant. They have no refrigeration. They have no place to store their glasses. They have no place to store ice. It's just to function and run the restaurant. It's not going to create a negative impact on the neighborhood. It's open. So the extra 6 bar seats are not going to negatively impact anybody. Personally, when I go out with my wife, I like to sit at the bar, have a couple appetizers, have a couple of drinks, and go home. I'd rather not sit at the table and be served. I think a lot of people share that sentiment. But again, I think that the neighborhood saw this variance, and the only thing that we're asking for is 6 additional bar seats, and it does not impact the occupancy. We could put 281 on tabletops, or we could put, like I said, 17 at the bar and 264 at the tables. It's not going to change anything to the neighbors. All it's doing is allowing us to function and open a restaurant that's going to operate and succeed, where the last 3 or 4 restaurants failed. And I know walking in there it's very difficult to walk around and go all the way around to the seating. It's set up poorly. And that's part of the reason the last 2 businesses failed. They're successful business people. Like I said, they close at midnight generally, unless there's a UFC fight on or something, but they're not looking to stay up until 4 in the morning. They're not a kid crowd.
Mr. Apple, who did you want to, because we'll come back to you then, I want to give an opportunity to the applicant and to the other witnesses,
Sure.
I think, that you might have. Did you want to hear from do you want to have the architect come up first?
Sure, yep.
Okay. Because I just want to, I want to understand the flow of how this is going to change.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have a large plan here.
Your name and
to point
address,
out some
please.
things.
Name and address for the record.
I'm sorry. Edward Licalzi, 2100 Joshua's Path. Licalzi, L-I-C-A-L-Z-I. 2100 Joshua's Path, Hauppauge, New York. The most important aspect that we found when we first became a representative for the applicant was that the existing bar, obviously, and it's been spoken about already, is the fact that the bar cannot service the quantity of occupancy that's been approved for. Currently, right now, we are trying to renew, obviously, the 15-foot length of bar, because that has obviously expired. But the simple fact that 9 stools, bar stools, can obviously not support the wherewithal of a restaurant of this size. Sustainability is probably the most important aspects of any restaurant owner. We've done a number of restaurants, and we've done 2 already for the applicant. He's very successful at operating his business. But clearly we can see that in order for the applicant to survive here in a year-round restaurant, not a seasonal restaurant, the bar needs to increase in size. Otherwise, there's really no chance of him being able to sustain a business that can actually operate based on the size and occupancy that already exists for this facility. It's our opinion that if you really consider the action of a bar with, let's say, 15 feet, there's not enough room for 2 bartenders. There's not enough room even for bar back service. And to service the tables as well as the 9, there's just not enough room. It's just not a practical space. The design of the bar obviously increases considerably, but it's designed basically to work efficiently. The efficiency of that bar will be able to sustain 171 occupancy when he has an occupancy rating of 281, which does not plan to meet, but based on the tables and how we've provided the seating, the ability to facilitate 171 occupants with, as you can see, a number of tables, a bar of this size is really needed. One could also look historically at this particular restaurant and consider also the fact that other restaurant owners have not been able to survive with a facility of this size with such a small bar. So therefore, I know the applicant is taking really a lot of risk by being involved in this particular facility, but he sees the potential of it. He sees the potential for the neighborhood and how it will benefit the people in the neighborhood all year round, not just a seasonal restaurant. So if you have any questions for me, it's particularly with relation to why the space is designed the way it is, I'd be more than happy to answer that.
No, see, the question that I have, you know, basically is not so much even the architectural design, which is probably something that the applicant is going to better be able to answer. But the thing is that when I look at the seating chart as it's presented as more of a restaurant, you know. When I look at the other two establishments that they have, one is open till 2, one is open till 1, right? And we were told that they're going to open till midnight here. It's more listed as a bar, sports bar restaurant. So, you know, traditionally what was there before, maybe they all failed for that reason, but 7 and 7-7 and Rito's and whatever else was there, they were, you know, restaurants with an accessory bar. And I think what might be a concern is that it's not going to be a restaurant bar, that maybe the usage, and again, the usage could be anything because bar, you know, owners, restaurant owners can change things up. I think the concern might be that this is not going to be a restaurant bar, but a bar restaurant. And I think that in the area that where it is, and in comparison to what's there, that's what we're probably going to gain from the applicant. What I see on your drawing, on your architectural design, it still looks like a restaurant to me. Yes. I mean, it looks like, you know, high top tables. It looks like tables of 4. That would, to me, more indicate a restaurant. But again, I need to hear from the applicant what the new usage is going to be. So I don't have any further questions for you. But
I have a question concerning your diagram.
Sure.
Because I don't understand it. So you're looking at the bar, and then to the, I guess to my right on the diagram, it says low-frequency screen. What is that?
It's an architectural term. It's used to basically separate spaces. In this particular case, if there was happening to be a party, a catered party here, it's basically diffused with certain openings in a screen-type design where you can still have natural light coming through. You could also see the activity within the other space, and you're not totally shunted off.
Can you move, are those screens movable or no?
No, this is a permanent wall, but
Okay.
again, it's just basically an architectural screen panel.
So you would be able to remove, where it says catering room, all of those chairs and seats, and then have a flow between the bar and the catering room?
You could, yes. I believe the intention really is to separate the space, and at least that's what it's always been so far, is to separate the space because of volume as well. You can understand, even if you look at a diner and how it operates, if the diner's not that busy, the congregation of all seating patrons are really kind of moved to one side because there's less waitress staff. When they're very busy, obviously, the whole diner can be filled. And it would be the same for something like this with a restaurant bar, you know, application. So,
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because if you just remove all of those chairs and seats from the catering room, okay, then you're really having a very large bar with just a couple of seats. That's what it seems to me.
could you say that again? I'm sorry. 'cause
Okay,
I'm
so
misunderstanding
you have
how
the
you're
catering
paraphrasing.
room, right? And the catering room has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it looks like 8 tables in there, okay? And if you remove all of those tables, okay, and you just leave the low-frequency screen, you will have a flow of going back and forth from the bar.
Yes.
So is this a restaurant bar or a bar restaurant?
It's a restaurant bar.
Okay,
Because-
thank you.
Because there's different ways, obviously, to utilize it. Hopefully, I answered that
Yeah,
for you.
no, you did.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions about the architectural design? All right, let's move on to the applicant, I think, at this point. I'd like to hear from the applicant, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. Is the applicant ready to come up, or? Yeah, is the applicant here, Mr. Apple? Yeah. Name and address, please.
Victoria Linscott, 777.
Can you just speak a little louder, please?
Victoria Linscott, 777 West Beach Street. Linscott, West Beach Street, Long Beach.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
You are the applicant?
Yes, I'm the Vice President of Profeta Corp. I've worked with my business partner since 2014 on the two other ventures that were spoken about previously. I also have lived in Long Beach for many years, so when we had the opportunity to take this spot on, I was excited and I wanted to do it. And then, of course, once seeing the spot, it's beautiful, the restaurant is stunning, and our concern from the beginning was that the bar itself is a very small space to function for an occupancy of 281 people, with a room in the back that would hold space for fundraisers or parties, things that we do at our other locations. We are involved in the community. We do youth sports program, fundraisers. We have fundraisers with adoption events with animals, and we're involved with the community. So for us, when we saw this large space, we wanted from the beginning to make it into something that we could be there long-term, like we have looked at our other two locations. And we really have always just had the same concept that we want to have affordable food and drink that is high quality, and that the community knows that they can come to us and that we are friendly people. We are involved, in that we really just want to offer a great space that functions. So our concern from the beginning was, like it's been already mentioned, the ability to flow and service that amount of people in a small bar as it is, it just won't work. And we want to be able to provide the same quality that we provide at our other locations. And with this, once we saw the drawings from our architect, and once we kind of put our heads behind what we could do to open the flow and open the space up, we said, okay, this is possible, and we saw the light at the end of the tunnel. But of course, with every venture that we've come across, there are some things that pop up that we have to work through. And for us, we don't feel that we're offering anything to the community of Long Beach that could be detrimental, and that this shouldn't go through. This is something that is already established. It's a beautiful restaurant. And to go back to the point of it being a sports bar, yes, our other locations are called sports bars because you don't call them sports restaurants. But people come to us to watch the big game. They're there right now watching the Knicks, but they're eating a bowl of pasta. They're eating high quality steak. They're eating good food. And our layout is more conducive to a restaurant than it would ever be a bar. If you look at any of our locations, we don't have standing room. People sit, they dine, they sit at the bar, and that's their experience. But with this Long Beach location, it wouldn't even really be that. It is laid out as a restaurant because that's what we plan to run it as. And Bohemia absolutely closes every night at midnight. I closed it last night myself at midnight on the dot. Maybe 1 a.m. on the weekend if there's a sporting event, but otherwise it's midnight. And at the end of the day, it really is just 7 more seats or 8 more seats that we're looking to do. But it's not even the seats, it's the storage, it's the flow, it's the being able to have staff make and store items that you need to flow as a a successful restaurant. So,
Yeah, no, well, look, having lived here for the majority of my life, I mean, and knowing all the businesses that were there before, I think, in all fairness, the reason why the bar is so small is because really, you know, that bar, I think, originally was only meant for people to just sit there while their table was ready. I think there was even a code check to the side of it at one time. And the private room, which was the party room, if you will, that room actually had, for many years, had like a rolling bar in there. So if you were, let's say, seated there for a party or a wedding or whatever, basically you wouldn't be being served, you wouldn't be served from the forward bar, you were served from the inside rolling bars that were inside the party room. So it was a separate thing that they set up separately. So I understand what the concept is, that you're, you know, looking for more of a flow. I think what's going to be maybe a concern of the neighborhood, and I'm just anticipating this, is that although we're only changing the number of seats by 6, which really doesn't sound like much or anything really at all, in, you know, factual terms, I think what the concern is going to lie more in the spirit of the facility. Is it going to be just, you know, unfortunately people will probably ask, is it going to be just another Long Beach bar that serves good food? Or is it going to be something more in the tradition of, again, maybe that's why they failed, but Mateo's was pretty successful for a number of years. Mateo's, Vito's was successful for a number of years, and maybe those places are, you know, those old Italian restaurants are kind of dinosaurs now. I don't know. But the thing is, I think that those are probably some of the concerns that you're going to anticipate maybe hearing tonight. I don't know. But certainly things that I would ask as a resident, as I said, having spent most of my life here. So are there any
if I
other
could just add one
people on the
thing.
board who would like to ask any questions? Go ahead.
I just want to add, during COVID, one of our chefs that has now become a business partner with us and is one of our head chefs came to us from Bocce. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bocce, but
It's in Westbury
it's a
yeah.
Westbury successful Italian restaurant, and that
Yeah.
is his background, and that's who we work alongside with. So he comes from that same background, and every menu we have, which like I had some handouts, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's some of like our brunch, our $10 pasta night, our kids menu, which is $7 meals, our regular menu. We also have a catering menu because we try to offer, like I said, quality food to the community, and our chef is in line with that as well.
I understand. I mean, when you go into Bocce, I've been there dozens of times. I mean, the bar on the right-hand side of the restaurant when you go in isn't really crazy big. It's probably about the same size as what you're talking about. And then you step over to the left and you go down, and the tables are all
Much
in that
smaller
open area. So I understand, is that the concept that you're trying to go for?
No, I'm simply saying his background
Okay.
is that same cuisine.
Okay.
But our concept is a sports bar. So it's
Okay.
burgers, it's just elevated.
Okay, understood. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Apple, who did you want to present? Anybody else next, or? Okay. Yeah, well, that's right. At this point, I see people sitting here. I'm assuming people are going to want to speak. So let's just do this. You can step down. Thank you very much. Let's take those who want to speak in favor first. That's usually what we do. So is there anybody who wants to speak in favor? Any hands raised? Come on up, sir. Give us your name and address, and tell us why you are in favor.
Hi, Chairman. My name is Paul O'Rourke. Been before you before on a couple issues in Long Beach. Very helpful. Lifetime law. I'm sorry.
Your address for the record.
My name is Paul O'Rourke. I live in Oceanside, and I reside in Rincon in Puerto Rico for half a year. So grew up in Long Beach, 536 East State Street, 465 Shore Road. I own 353 East Market Street. I lived there with my family, raised my family there for a time period. Had 2 houses down in the West End, Connecticut Avenue and Kentucky Street. I'm in construction. I worked for one of the largest commercial construction companies in New York. I've put $5 billion worth of work in place in my career, 37 years. I built all the Capitol grills to kind of give you where I'm coming with talking about the restaurant here. That restaurant down there, I knew a lot of the owners that were down there. The flow of it doesn't work. I've known Paul, the owner. He asked me to come down and look at it 6-7 months ago. Said the flow never worked with this coming in. Open up the bar area there, get the service right. It's always been bottlenecked, pinched there where you can't feed it out. They're one of the only places that has parking down there, which to me is important because, when you come down to different holidays and stuff like that, you can't park down in the West End. So I just got back from Rincon last week. I went to go to Gino's over here. They don't even, right across there, they don't have the parking that he has. If you actually go out there and count it, and there's 30 businesses along that road. So you can't even get a slice of pizza in the middle of town. So this is a very good business owner. I've known him for some time. He's responsible. That's what we want. When we say other businesses, Mateo's, I knew the people that ran these different restaurants down there, that they were successful. They weren't successful. They were hanging on. They're hanging on like a lot of the bar owners and people that are down there now. They're not making $1 million. If they were, we'd see where they're living. So it's very hard. The cost of all materials, of all liquor, food today, very hard to get by. Don't want to see another failed business. He's got into this. He's got money into it. We want to see him succeed. And just to add to that, being a lifetime person that was down there, I worked at Chauncey's, I worked at Beach Street Cafe, hung out in all the bars down there, okay? Been sober a long time, not anti-bar. And I find when people do come down and they're pushing against the people who want the same businesses that they ran for years, that put bread on their table and put their kids through college, to come out against something without even looking at the plan of what's going on there, that's not right. You should sit down with the owner, look at what he's presenting here. It's not even about 6 spots. It's about, they don't even have a cooler back there. But if you know anything about a bar, everybody knows it is the flow to get it out there. It's not about setting a bar up in the back area and stuff like that. So we want Paul to succeed. We want them to do well. And, I'm definitely all for it. But I think anybody that is in opposition should really look at that plan and see what they're doing before they come out against it. So
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Thanks very much. All right, if there's nobody else that wants to speak in favor? In favor. All right, so let's start against.
No, one more in favor.
There was one more in favor. You're in favor?
Yes, I am in favor, but generally, I can't stand when you do it that way, that for or against. I generally...
No, I get it, but you can present both, Jim. Name and address. Jim.
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Thank you very much, we got it.
Here we go.
Okay,
With the microphone.
got it.
Jamie
Understood.
Lynch, 16 May Walk, Long Beach, unlike the last James Lynch that was here. I've been before this board before. I have some experience, 12 years on the Chamber of Commerce, and as a chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a neighbor, right across the street, directly affected by this. I've met with Paul and Vicki, probably about 6-7 weeks ago, when they wanted to get on the first calendar, and they explained to me their business model. I looked into their other business models. It looks like something that works. Being a member of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm always in favor of business. People that want to come and put money into our neighborhood are taking a big risk. It's easy to sit there and scream and yell, or get on a keyboard and complain. These people are making an investment. They're taking the risk. We too are taking the risk as residents. When it was Mateo's, and there were so many names that changed that, they weren't good. They weren't good names. It wasn't easy with the parking and everything like that. And I've explained the concerns of that to Vicki and Paul, what they're going to be up against. And I'm willing to take that risk. I don't want to see a premier spot empty in our business district. And I'm willing to take that risk as a neighbor. I've seen You're gonna hear from some people tonight, and I've seen some letter, I foiled the letter from the West End neighbor, Mr. Papetti, stating that there is no other restaurant in the area that has a bar that size. On West End neighbor letterhead, that's blatantly false. And I'm gonna tell you today that I was at 4 of them. And I want it on the record, I was there when they weren't open for business. The Inn has a 42-foot bar, square bar, more rectangular. Minnesota's 45-foot bar. Jetty, 40-foot bar. And the Knights, 40-foot bar. That all have more than 16 seats at their bar. How they got there, I don't know, I don't care. My point is that it's not detrimental. They've been successful, they've been good neighbors, they give back to the community, and they provide a good service. And that's what these folks are looking to do. And I think it's disingenuous when we start out by saying they're going to ruin, as Mr. Delory's letter, he sent out a letter, which I received. I'm on their list, I guess. I'm not a member of the Wall Civic Association. But I think it's disingenuous when you only ask people to respond that you don't want this place. It doesn't give anybody the option to come down here and say, well, you know what, I think it might work. So I would ask that this board take the time to see, and I have 10 years experience running one of the busiest sports bars in Manhattan. And I can tell you, that sat 400 people. And I can tell you what it takes. When you invite people, you go out to dinner and you invite people to meet you. Not everybody gets there at the same time. They're not going to wait outside. They want to meet inside. They'll go to the bar. You can't have that much seating and expect people to all congregate by the bar, especially in the situation that they have now. So it necessitates a bigger space. The seating necessitates the size of the bar. And that's absolutely why other places didn't make it. Plus, they had a different business model. These people, I've spoken to them, I believe that they have a good business model. I think you should look at it in that respect. I understand you have a job and you to listen, and they have to show cause. I think they've shown that this is what they need to make their business work. And I think there should be some, that should be given some gravity to their business model. And I would hope that you will agree on this and you allow them. I know that they were before trying to get on the board, but now they're rubbing up against Memorial Day. And everybody knows, you know, they've been paying rent for 6 months or longer trying to survive. I would hope that you give them this opportunity to show themselves that they can be good neighbors. And there are other remedies if this doesn't work. We have the building department, the police department, you have the fire marshals, you have the zoning board, which could revoke their variance if they didn't like. There are remedies that protect the people. But you can't just, what you're hearing from some of the civics, and, you know, once again, I like these people, but it's just wrong to come out and say, well, it's going to ruin our neighborhoods. It'll destroy our communities, what one letter says. And that's disingenuous. It's not right without any fact to say that. So I would hope that you take into consideration that people come into this town and are willing to dump that money. I say it very lightly, dump that money. It's their life's investment. They're moving forward. They're trying to build a better business. So please give them that opportunity and vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Okay. Anyone else in favor? Sir, you're going to come up. I know you've had your hand up. Come up. I don't understand. Come up. Give us your name and address, please, sir. And go ahead, please.
My name is Stephen Goldfeder, 765 West Beach Street. Goldfeder.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. As I said, my name is Stephen Goldfeder. I am one of the people who is most impacted by the results of this meeting since I live directly next door to 777. My only separation is May Walk. For 2 decades, the owners and proprietors of this property have pushed boundaries, operating as a bar and nightclub despite being zoned and licensed as a restaurant. Noise violations, late-night disturbances, and a disregard for residents have been a constant burden. With each new restaurant, we have fought to protect our quality of life. I'm sure every neighbor in attendance has their own list of what they've dealt with, so I'll speak for myself. I chase away the people urinating in front of and on my house. I clean up the garbage in the street that's left by the drunken idiots who frequent these establishments. I deal with fighting and screaming all hours of the night in front of my home. I've been called a rat by the owners of that establishment for calling the police to report their blaring music in the middle of the night. I've been cursed at, fought with, and made to feel like an intruder in my home. I've endured Maywalk being made into a smoking area complete with cigarettes being thrown on my cars and cigar smoke that's so thick that it's challenging to breathe, and I'm forced to close my windows. I've cleared the snow on their sidewalk so our residents can walk through. I pick up the garbage that is thrown into Maywalk and ignored by the proprietors because it's beyond the boundaries of their fence, so it's not their problem. I've done what I can do to protect the community and ensure that the quality of life of my wonderful friends and neighbors is protected from what I refer to as the same. You can fill in your own X with a different meaning. Every new owner has had the answer. The rent is expensive, so let's make a nightclub. Illegally, of course, and screw the community. The rent is expensive, so let's have a DJ. Illegally, of course, and screw the community. The rent is expensive, so let's put tables outside and block the sidewalk entirely. Illegally, of course, and screw the community.
I'm gonna answer
Now with the
questions.
latest application to
Let me deal with this guy.
28 feet, we face yet another attempt to bypass zoning laws and legitimize what has been happening illegally for years. In other words, the rent is expensive, so Long Beach needs to change what they allow so that the new owner can make their money and screw the community. Well, I would like to propose another option. If you can't make it in that location as a restaurant, find a different location. This is a neighborhood and not a boulevard. All of this being said, it may shock you to know that I enjoy having a restaurant next door. I like being part of a vibrant community as long as it's respectful. I do not oppose the transfer of this establishment as it currently is to a new proprietor. However, this is not that. I would like to reference section 9-106.1A4 of the Long Beach Code of Ordinances. This ordinance prohibits the establishment of a new bar. While the applicant may claim, and has already, that this is merely an expansion, the reality is that it will fundamentally alter the character of this establishment. This is not just a larger bar. It's a bar that is 44 foot 6 inches. That is larger than a 4-story building. This is, for all practical purposes, a new bar in both operation and impact. So let's get down to it. The impact of a new bar on our community would be devastating. And yes, I said devastating. More bar space means more people, louder crowds, and late-night disturbances that disrupt residents' peace. This isn't just about music. It's about shouting, revelry, and general disorder. I can repeat what we have already endured if you'd like, but I suspect you get it. More bar space will create additional chaos in our streets, which are already burdened with traffic from Sorrentos, buses, and trucks. Adding more bar patrons will create gridlock, making it harder for residents to access their homes and creating unsafe conditions for pedestrians and emergency vehicles. More bar space means more intoxication, disorderly conduct, and increased strain on law enforcement. Our police department will be forced to devote even more resources to maintaining order. More bar space degrades our quality of life even beyond noise and safety. This expansion threatens the character of our neighborhood. Increased litter, late-night commotion, and an influx of bar patrons will make our community less livable for families and longtime residents. Allowing this expansion would send a clear message. Zoning regulations can be ignored and community concerns dismissed. It would pave the way for more violations, further undermining the integrity of our neighborhood. You have a decision to make. Uphold the zoning code by recognizing the intent of section 9-106.1A4 and deny this application, thus preserving the residential character of our neighborhood. Or approve this expansion, condone years of disrespect for regulations, and condemn residents to a future of noise, disruption, and declining quality of life. But let me make this even more simple. This is not a complex legal debate. It's a fundamental question of priorities. Will you approve this bar, thus prioritizing the potential profit of a single business, or will you protect the well-being and safety and quality of life of the residents of this neighborhood? After all, that is what we pay immense property taxes for. The responsibility to choose wisely rests with you, and I urge you to make the right decision. Thank you.
Mr. Goldfarb, thank you. I just have a question for you, a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So, and I appreciate everything that you said, and thank you for coming up here. Now, some of the things that you were mentioning, horrible, horrible things. Now, did these things exist with just the last establishment, or have they existed through some of the previous, reincarnations of this restaurant?
It's a great question, and I think that it's important to understand the dynamic of the people that move into that location. This is probably not so dissimilar. I agree, it's very difficult to create a restaurant there. It attracts a group of people that always have the right answer. We've all been in contact with people like this throughout our lives. I know the answer. I'm going to figure it out. It's hard to make it as a restaurant. It's a lot of money for rent there, as I understand it. So it's always been, Mateo's literally pulled me aside and called me a rat because he thought I called the police. I didn't, by the way, but he thought I did. Called me a rat. The latest owner literally came to my front deck. I sit out on my front deck. If you've ever been there, you've seen me sitting out there.
You're talking about, your house is the house that the fireman built like years ago, right? Okay.
Correct.
No
Jay
names
Russell's-
mentioned, but
Jay
I know that
Russell's
house. Yeah,
old
yeah,
house.
Jay.
Wait,
Correct.
what's the address, 6?
Seven.
Seven.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's right next
765
door.
West Beach.
It looks like it's like a brick kind of,
On the corner of May Walk and West Beach Street,
right
directly
next door.
across the walk. The last owner was particularly heinous because, and I want to let you know something, I'm a very reasonable person. I don't start off by calling the police. I've walked in one after another. I had a friend of mine chase after me because I walked in so angry one day. All I asked of those people, shut the back door. Your music is blaring. I can't even hear my own television in my house. An entire side of my house is rendered useless by the noise that comes up in that restaurant. The last owner literally came over to me and gave me, it was a veiled threat. He was a little clever. But he told me, you got me fined. I said, no, you got yourself fined. I called on you. Oh yeah, I called on you, but you were doing things illegally. So I got a lot of threats. I've been dealing with this for a long time. But I want to let you know something. I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm not a guy that's a suburban guy. I lived in Jericho. I'm not quiet. I'm not a guy that buys a house under a flight path and complains about the airport.
Well, I grew up a mile from JFK, and there were people that would buy houses on the
And
block
then complain.
and complain about the Concord. Well, why'd you buy a house a mile from JFK?
Listen.
Which is what I would ask somebody living next door. But you just answered my
I bought
question.
next to a
You knew what you were getting.
restaurant. I bought next to a restaurant. That's not what this is. This is now becoming a bar. And guess what? I did look at their Instagram. And I do know that the name is Cans. And in case you don't know, Cans is essentially a low-rent Hooters sports bar. That's what it's called. That's what it is. And that's what they're bringing to the community. And when we have a community that is desperately trying to elevate itself, as the homes get bigger, as the property values get higher, why in the world do we want something like this now coming into a residential neighborhood?
Can I just ask you one question, sir? I like the passion. I'm very much that way myself when I believe in something. Just so you are, and I believe you are aware, you know that this board isn't granting permission for them to actually operate.
I understand. They've
The
already
only
started
thing-
construction. They moved the TV into the back room. I've seen it. I know what they're up to.
So I guess here's my question, because what you said was, unless I misunderstood, that you were supportive of a restaurant in the current configuration.
That's correct.
But the current configuration gave you a lot of grief.
Not as a restaurant, as a nightclub.
Okay.
They operated illegally as a nightclub, and they got shut down for it. Just like during COVID, when they were serving drinks there and didn't have any tables for food, and they got shut down for it. As a restaurant, it was fine. As Mateo's, believe it or not, mostly it was fine. It's when they decide that they're going to be really smart and make it a nightclub, you know, they know better, that's when there's the problems. And when they open up that back door, because people like to make it their smoking area. So that door's open, people coming in and out. Guess what? When the music is on, it's not quiet.
So just so I understand the concern, is if the length of the bar, the size of the actual bar is enlarged, that it's going to lend itself to be more of an establishment that's a bar, nightlife, as opposed to a restaurant. That's.
Listen,
I'm just asking. I don't live here. I didn't grow up here. I'm just asking.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate you, and I'm going to give you the most honest answer I can.
Please.
I'm not in love with an establishment called Cannes being next door to me in the first place. So let's start there.
Okay.
But now, if you take that and you now create something that shifts it from being a restaurant to becoming a bar, then it becomes an even bigger problem. And let's face it, how many neighbors have I had over the last 20 years? Let's suppose, and there's a high likelihood that Cannes won't make it, because nothing has made it there. What's going to happen next now that we have a 44.6 foot bar? The next one might not just be Cannes, it might be Minnesota's. So you're really taking something and you're establishing it right now as something different than what it is. You're allowing it to shift from what is primarily a restaurant to a bar restaurant. And that's a different story. And you're right. That small bar, whoever said it before, it was there to be a service bar, to service a restaurant. And that's not what they're looking at. 6 chairs, 7 chairs, I don't care. 44-foot bar, and frankly, whether or not they can refrigerate their food is not my problem. My problem is my house that I paid for, and my problem is that that zoning does not allow for a 44-foot, 6-inch bar, and they are fundamentally changing the nature of that unit from a restaurant to a bar.
I have a question. Please. What would you say if we made a conditional temporary variance subject also to a noise violation? In other words, that if the restaurant, 777 restaurant, pled guilty to a noise violation, that immediately, as a result, their variance for this bar would terminate. What would you say about that?
I would say
that's very risky.
I would say that if it was going to be approved and there were a condition on it, it's better than it not. Okay. If it was going to be approved, I would appreciate real conditions on it. I would prefer that it not be approved at all. Because I know.
Wait, I'm going to stop you for a second.
Yes.
So you're talking about conditions. What type of conditions would you
noise
like?
For sure. Noise for sure. We have noise ordinances, and I want to tell you something. I deal with the noise now. I come home, and their music is blaring in that place. 8 o'clock, I say, good for you. 8 o'clock, I can't argue with.
So here's
10
my
o'clock,
question.
I can start to
Hold
argue.
on. Here's my question. Would it benefit everybody for us to not vote on this tonight, for you to get together with the other side and go through conditions that you both could agree on, and then come back to us concerning those conditions? And by the way, if you can't agree on the conditions, okay, then you can't agree, and then we still turn around and we still would have a vote.
I don't have a problem with my neighbors and me getting together and trying to work something through with the ownership, but I would need something firmly established in writing that what is going to be there is going to adhere to the regulations of a restaurant and adhere to the noise ordinances in Long Beach. And I am telling you, 1 minute after, I will be on that phone to the police and I will get them there.
Right, but you understand, the conditions would be based upon pleading guilty to a violation. It would be a violation, because otherwise we have he said, she said, and how we're going
Oh,
to.
no, I understand.
Okay,
No, no,
okay.
I get it.
All right.
And
Do you
I
want-
understand regulations, and I know
Okay.
that there are regulations. And as I said, I've never asked one person to lower their music at 8 o'clock at night. Good for you. 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, hey, you're in a neighborhood, time to shut it down.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing that I would suggest with respect, if there was going to be some type of a condition based on noise that, you know, everybody agreed to, was that I guess the restaurant owners would actually purchase like a decibel reader, because I wouldn't want it to be subjective.
No, I
You know,
agree.
like, it has to
and
be
shouldn't
it has to be a
subjective.
clear objective that, you know, the decibel level, you know, shouldn't, you know, exceed XYZ. However, I mean, if
Can
somebody's watching the Super Bowl there and, like, you know, like the Giants score the winning touchdown and everybody's like, ah.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
When the Giants score the winning touchdown at midnight, it's too loud.
No, listen, I understand
By
what
the
you're
way, I don't
saying.
know, what is your first name?
My first name is Joseph.
Joseph.
Yes.
What we're hoping to avoid here, Joseph, if I could, I don't want to call you Lupo. I don't
That's
know you
okay.
well.
That's fine. Joseph's
What we're hoping to avoid is the overall environment. It's rough enough in Long Beach. And I'm telling you, and I'm not joking, the amount of times, just based on my next door neighbors having their little nightclub, and I had pictures, and the people I chase away from my house, the fighting in front of my house, the garbage, it's an ongoing problem and has been. I've been there for 20 years. It's an ongoing problem for 20 years there now.
I think the one thing that kind of sticks out to me a little bit, and I don't get a vote in this, I'm just legal counsel, right? But the one thing that I'm thinking about is whether they have a 15-foot bar or a 40-foot bar, if it's the type of establishment that's going to be loud and rowdy, that's going to happen either way. And I'm not saying that it is. I'm not
Yes.
saying that's their intention. I'm not.
Thank you.
I'm neutral.
You're
but the thing is,
absolutely right.
we don't have the authority to say no. You
No,
can't
I
have that
understand,
there.
but the likelihood of having 40 drunken idiots is much higher if you have a 44-foot bar.
281 is the occupancy. You can have a lot of
Okay.
them. You know, I mean, you could drink at a table too.
Absolutely. Yes, you can.
So I would have a question to Mr. Apple.
Are you guys done with me?
No. Would you be willing to talk to, I get, you represent the West End Civic Association?
I represent
And
myself.
yourself, okay.
The West End Civic Association
All right,
is
it's
Mike,
over
who's
there,
right there.
okay. So would you, Mr. Apple, would you be willing to talk with these individuals to try to maybe work out some reasonable conditions and then come back?
There's a lot of us.
And you know, he was representing, we have
we're all
another
here
restaurant
right
across.
now at 9 o'clock
No,
at night.
I want you to know something also. He was representing we have another neighbor who has had a restaurant across the street.
Right.
And I think he understands. We're not unreasonable people.
I'm
We
not
all
I'm not
started
saying
off
you
in a
are. I'm
tough
just-
spot with them, but that restaurant
Hold on, wait.
came out-
I'm
No,
just
no.
asking if,
Absolutely open the door and meet everybody.
okay, so I move to adjourn.
Well, there's
Well,
other
Yeah, but we
people
still
I
have to
think
hear
will-
everybody
Oh,
else.
I'm sorry, okay.
We still have other people.
Thank you.
All right.
Hold up. Would it be okay if we just took like a 5-minute recess, just like a bathroom break? Is everybody okay with that? I don't make the motion. I just don't want to get. I just don't want to. I don't want to get jumped in the hole, Mr. Delory. I'm just asking.
No, and you guys are all going to be able to have an opportunity to speak. We're not cutting this short. Everybody who's here that wants to speak, you could speak. We're here all night. It's great. Yes, sir.
I put it over there.
Thank you.
Bathroom's still open in the back?
Yeah, but there's also one.
What's that?
like, There's also one by the elevator.
Yeah, but we can go in the back, right?
Yeah, I think Denise
Walking
is
through
in
the-
there. He's the one by the elevator.
This time of the year, I don't sleep well. I have my windows open, at 5 o'clock in the morning, birds start going.
Yeah, they start early.
They Start early.
I slept so good Monday and Tuesday. I slept for between 7 and 8 hours, which I never do. 2 nights in a row. I went to bed last night. I said, there are times of time. All of a sudden, 12:30, my dog is in my face. I was up till 5. My alarm was going. I had a class this morning at the gym. 6 o'clock. I was like, I'm gonna die.
Wow.
I'm gonna die, but I went.
That's impressive.
Yeah. No, I was like, and then he like, when I got up out of bed, like later on, he was like all smiles. I was like, I'm not talking to you, Jesus.
Right.
Why are you arguing with the dog? I'm so mad at him. But two good nights in a row, I shouldn't complain. When my daughters come home in a week or two, forget it. Then I'm gonna be up late.
Oh, yeah, it's coming, yeah, a week or 2, yeah.
So you know where I took my wife?
Well, oh yeah, where'd you go?
So she loves, we call it the Portuguese place. That's the only way we can explain it. Caballeros, is that what it is? Which is in Belmore. You know where Applebee's is on Sunrise Highway?
Okay, yeah.
It's just past there. It's like this Portuguese.
Oh, yeah.
That place is phenomenal.
It's the all-you-can-eat meat.
Yeah, but we don't get all you can eat. But
No,
it's
that's tough.
excellent.
Do they produce your table?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
There's one in Carl Place, too.
Yes.
A much bigger one, different name.
Yeah, but this place is really.
It's a Brazilian. That one's Portuguese.
Brazil-
That one's Portuguese.
This one's Portuguese. What they call it when they come around?
Rodicio.
Rodicio. Yeah. But we don't. It's too much. So we just get the skirt steak, which is very good. So that's where I took her. That's what she wanted. We made it. No problems. Ugh. I'm glad I had dinner before we came because I had a feeling this is going to be.
Well, I didn't.
I just got off the train.
Thank you. But I know that you can't because I'm thirsty. And I should be drinking
See, you're
water.
holding your wrist. Let me
Well,
guess.
not like water.
You've had a deposition earlier today.
I don't drink
and now
enough.
you're doing this.
I definitely don't drink enough. I know. I'm trying to do better.
It won't help.
Well, it looks like so far there's only 2 cases for the city. I know there's still another week every once in a while, but
Okay.
it seems kind of quiet.
I'm not gonna be here.
So you were in the courthouse.
I mean, I'll confirm it. So, it's only 2, it's only 2.
2, but remember we got these open. I don't think she's talking about these 2.
Oh, that's right, those will push, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Really? I hadn't noticed that.
Is this the last one tonight?
It's one more. get you a Depends. Get you some Depends.
Why? I can hold it.
Oh, really?
You're saying, you know what? Now that you show off, you're not gonna sit there and talk to me about the pen. You got your grandma bag of candy.
I told Robin I eat a lot of candy and I should be drinking water because I'm thirsty.
I feel bad for the people with the last case.
I know.
You know? Grant, you know, when they come up. I feel bad. They're sitting.
You fucking in there. Every little things.
Oh, they heard your voice.
White House.
So the Knicks are winning.
Huh?
The Knicks are winning. Nobody cares. I'm 5'7", have no jump shot. I've never watched basketball in my life.
Well, the draft was today, too, the NFL draft. What's the score?
86-80.
Isn't going to be
Not later, right?
No, no. Because you don't, they're going to open it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to open.
Don't move something else around. Are we all set? Yeah, well set.
We get overtime, right?
Do we want to, we waiting for anybody? Robert, guys, can we start again? Yeah, we're here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to resume the meeting now at this point. So we left off at the last time with, we were having some conversation with one that was against it, and I was going to ask, I believe, sir, you had your hand up. Why don't you come up now, and we'll start with you. And don't worry, everybody will get an opportunity to speak. It's not, there's no time limit here tonight. Name and address first, sir.
Mike Delory, 6 June Walk, Long Beach, New York. Good evening, members of the board. What's that? June, J-U-N-E, right. Mr. Goldfeder's May and West Beach Street, June Walk.
Okay.
I appreciate Mr. Lynch's comments. I don't advocate one way or the other on an issue. My job, or what I try to do as a member of the West Holman Walks community, is just get the information out to people. They can do what they want. We sent out a lot more than what I have here today, and Ms. Lynch has been very great in dealing with these type of issues when it has to do with civic concerns and back and forth. So anyway, just I'll give you a little history about myself. Since Chairman Morelli, I enjoyed listening to your recap of Vito's restaurant. This location, probably in the 60s, was an Italian restaurant. The Farisi, Sonny, Tommy, and Tony ran it, and they also had takeout. I was a busboy there in 1971. The converted room right now, that they have the party room, was a lot of storage area for the restaurant. The restaurant was seated maybe 8 seats at the time, and you're correct, there was a coat check. The bar was about eight seats, approximately. They never had a problem with the business operation, the business model. There was parking. There still is parking. Vito was a good neighbor because he would say, if you have any problems, come see me. He was one of the hardest working people that I've known. He was there physically. I've heard Hop Hog, I've heard Plainview, I've heard Cans of Bohemia, I've heard maybe we'll close at 12, but their website says they close at 2 a.m. I mean, that's the print. I only go by the printed word. It's a legal document. You could tell me anything you want. Well, I've been through that. Your word, if you're willing to put it in writing, that's fine. We're open to dialogue. In fact, a lot of people here tonight wanted me to invite the potential owners, and they could be the guest speaker at the May 7th Civic Board meeting at the VFW. In the past, we've had Rabbi Goodman offer, he wanted to speak to at our meeting. We invited him. We'll change the schedule around. We inform people, and they come and they speak. That's what we're all about. As far as your noise meter, I would have problems with that, and I'll tell you why. Docs has one. Who's responsible? I would never, as a community member, rely on an owner to install a noise meter, only to indict themselves in case there's a problem. It has to be an independent body selected by a third party, just for independence purposes. So anyway, you have plenty of opposition letters, and we're opposing 175% increase in the size of a bar. Goes from, my estimate is it goes from 16 feet to 44 feet. That's a pretty sizable variance. You're not only changing the dimensions, you're going to change the quality of life, the traffic, the whole makeup. For whose benefit? Is it for a business owner, new to the area, doesn't have a track record? All I can do is have a track record of what maybe some reviews I've read on Bohemia of cans of Bohemia. And they're not always favorable, by the way, either. So I am concerned for our residents in the area. I'm concerned about parking. I'm concerned about traffic. And if this board or this body recommends that the neighbors and the group and the owner and the attorney get together, we'd be more than happy to meet with them. Mr. Apple, the attorney for the applicant, has done this in the past. Why he hasn't done this on this time, I don't know. But he did that on Rosa Rosa, which is on New York Avenue, right across the street. He reached out to members of the civic area residents, concerned residents, and they did meet at that proposed site. I wasn't there. I felt I needed to be independent and stay out of that and let me hear from the residents their concerns. I think I did ask it before this body to have certain stipulations put in writing on that particular case. Because you're putting conditions, you're proposing conditions on certain things, or you're suggesting conditions. Would you be amenable for that? And I don't want to recite it because it's probably in the public record, the transcript of that hearing. But I'm speaking on behalf of not only myself. I have my own concerns. I've seen it with my own eyes. I have pictures of certain things, but they weren't in operation yet. I don't want to take up all the time, but there are additional opposition letters. So I think the best course of action is, in my opinion, not make a decision tonight. We'll inform this board through the attorney, Mr. Lupo, if the applicant is agreeable to come to our May 7th civic meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delory. Someone else? And, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Tom Keneg, 26, The December Walk in Long Beach, New York. I have a couple of things I want to, pick up on what Mike was saying. First of all, I mean, your experience with restaurant owners, I would think you should have thought of it yourself to come to a civic meeting to the local people and explain yourself. And again, I extend the invitation also. Maybe you could sell us on it, really explain what's going on. But so far, what I heard is mainly talk, it's a sports bar. A sports bar is going to attract a lot of people who want to come and hang out and drink. Yes, some people will sit down and eat, but basically, like Mr. Apple said, it's going to be 17 seats, I believe. I've never yet, and I've been going to bars for over 50 years. I'm an old guy. I've never walked into a bar that was like a sports bar type atmosphere and saw all the people in the seat just sitting there with no one else behind them. You got a game going, like, or even a draft tonight. You're going to have people standing behind them having drinks, hanging out. So you're multiplying the amount of people that are actually at the bar. You're promoting it as a sports bar. People are going to come in and hang out as a sports bar. Not everyone's going to eat. You go to Cooper's. Cooper's is like a sports bar. Okay, you see a lot of people hanging around the bar. A lot of people sitting at it, of course. Some people eating food at the bar, but it's a sports bar. As far as the type of people you're going to attract there, Long Beach has changed a lot, and everyone knows, Mr. Morelli and everyone else knows, the demographics of Long Beach is changing, where there's a lot more young, influential, affluent people moving in here. Okay, I work in the schools part-time, and I'm seeing people, pulling up in Teslas and Mercedes and all kinds. There's a lot of money coming into Long Beach. All these McMansions, being built up in the West End. There's a lot of money coming into Long Beach. These people are looking more for a nice restaurant, not necessarily to hang out at a bar that they did in college and things like that. It's not the same type of crowd we had 30, 40 years ago. Again, I would like to speak to these people in person and let them explain why they don't feel that they're going to attract. In the Walks, okay, I don't know if everyone realizes, there's 300 homes in the Walks neighborhood. It's a small area, it's a lot of homes, only little 40 by 50 lots, and you're going up and down between Olive and Beach, Olive and Walnut and Park Avenue, from from New York to Lindell Boulevard, okay? There's no parking. I'm going to go home right now when I leave here, shortly, hopefully, and I'm not going to find a parking spot. I live halfway in between December, between Park and Walnut Street, and I'm going to be parked either on Lindell, Grand, or even further away from my house. And it's the off-season. It's not even summer season yet. And it gets worse. It's going to get a lot worse. And if you have a lot of people coming for a sports bar, there is a nice little parking lot they have there, but that parking lot is not enough to sustain everyone that are going to try to come there. Something else to consider. I wish them all the luck, and hopefully they could, come up with a way of doing it, because I like to see a successful restaurant there. But sports bar, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work. Make everyone happy. And we have other people that speak, so I won't take up any more of your time. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. I just had a question. Well, a question and maybe a comment. It seems to me, the concern is that originally there still is a bar there that's 30 feet. Am I correct? Even though the variance ran out on that section of the bar. In other words, what's legal is 14 feet. They have additional space that was by variance. That variance expired when? Do you know when it expired? But that bar is still there. That surface area is still there. Am I correct?
As far as I know, the variance from 2013, they had the prior establishment had a 15-foot bar, and then added a second 15-foot bar. That was and then that variance has expired. As far as what's there now, I don't know what construction has been done.
So my question was, at this point too, it seems like, the concern, and maybe I'm wrong.
Ms. Lynch just informed me in 2015 that variance expired.
Okay, 2015, the variance expired to have 30 feet. So technically, what's legal there now is about 15. Whether it's still 30, I don't know. But the thing is that it seems like the board is in an interesting situation here, because what happens is, what I'm gathering from the neighbors and the complaints from the neighbors is that it's not so much even the necessity of, let's say, increasing by 6 or 7 seats. It's what the nature of the business is that people are objecting to, right? A sports bar versus a restaurant with a little bar. The concern that I have is that what's put before us as a board is to vote on the bar, size or the increase in chairs. And fortunately or unfortunately, it is not before us to vote on the nature of the business, you know? So if they wanted to come and put, you know, a French restaurant, fine French place there, or if they wanted to come in and put a sports bar or put in some other kind of establishment like that, unfortunately, we're not voting on that, you know, so we can't really determine what their business is going to be. It's not for us to determine. We're only here to determine whether or not we can grant them that additional seating. So I just want that to be clear to everybody that, you know, we are sympathetic to what everybody's saying on both sides, but we're not here to vote on the nature of the business, you know. It's not our responsibility, nor is it our legal right to do that right now. But we're listening to everybody because, you know, concerns do matter, you know. So thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
We're here, I think, basically, I speak for myself anyway, we're here to explain to you why we feel a larger bar will be a detriment to the neighborhood.
Completely understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only disconnect just one quick thing, and it's, I do have a little bit of a disconnect with some of the arguments. So I totally understand, especially Mr. Goldfeder, the way he outlined everything. I get that. I mean, misconduct of drunk people, I mean, it is what it is, right? But any establishment that could serve alcohol, there might be a risk of that. But when I hear things like parking is an issue and traffic's an issue, I understand that, but that's going to be an issue no matter what, because this establishment is opening. It's just opening with a 15-foot bar or something bigger. You know what I mean? We don't have any way to stop them from opening, so that's going to happen.
Right, but the point of the parking was the more people you have in there, okay, you have X amount of seating, and you can have a lot of standing room at a bar, especially at a sporting event. You have more people, you have more cars. Yeah, a lot of people will walk up or whatever from the local neighborhood.
But then you know what it is, Mr. Kenny, then too? That would become, you know, a policing issue, fire department issue, where let's just say now, you know, you have, and I understand exactly what you're saying, you know, 3, 4 feet, 3, 4, 5 people deep at the seat in the bar, you know, struggling to get to the bar to get a drink. The problem though is then that becomes an enforcement issue because they then might be exceeding the fire occupancy, you know. So the thing is, the concern I'm hearing, or perhaps hearing, is that, you know, people are also worried that 281 could become 350, you know, because of people standing and not seated at the tables, you know. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because they're not coming in with the intention of sitting at a table.
Okay.
They're coming in to see a sports bar.
Okay.
And its name itself, it's inherent to being a place to hang
Okay.
out, not a place to sit down and eat.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there was somebody else, another pair of hands. Yes, sir, come on, down, yeah. Come on up, please. Your name and address.
Nick Gaudiosi, 213 New York Avenue. I'm not going to bore you by repeating everything the previous speaker said, because I agree with them on everything, and you've heard that. My point is this. If they need the variance to make the place viable as a business, they made a bad business deal. Why should the residents be held at the point of a gun to make up for their bad business deal? If it was viable with the existing condition, then fine. We don't have, whether we like it or not, we can't say anything about the use. If it can be a sports bar with the existing condition, we may not like it, but hey, that's life. But don't compound the problem by giving them a bigger bar, adding to the problem of more people. That's what we're asking for. My wife's family has owned the property at 213 New York Avenue since 1977. And like you, we've seen many iterations of restaurants in that property during that time. Some made it and some didn't. And we've frequented all of them. The ones that made it were good. The ones that didn't, go out of business. But you can make a restaurant work in that place. But I guess what I'm saying is, use it the way it is, and if they can't make it work, then they need to find another place. I used to live in Garden City. I'm familiar with Bocce. Bocce is in a commercial area. It's not surrounded by homes. So any noise, any overcrowding doesn't affect anybody who lives there. Here it's a different story. We moved down from Garden City and knocked the bungalow down and built a FEMA-compliant house 8 years ago because we liked that neighborhood. We wanted to be there. We could have built anywhere we wanted in Long Beach. We liked that because of the way it was. We didn't have a bar across the street. I didn't want to live on Minnesota or, you know, by the bars. We were fine with it. We've never had a problem with the restaurants there. Listen, I don't like a sports bar being there, but again, I don't have a choice. All I'm asking you is don't compound the problem by giving them a bigger bar. And again, if they can't make it work, then they shouldn't have signed a lease for the existing condition.
Okay.
We shouldn't be held accountable for their
Understood.
mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Gaudios. And there was anybody, another hand? Is that it? Nobody else wants to speak? Mr. Apple, you want to come back up? It's up to you.
First of all, with respect to the neighbors, I spoke to my clients. They're more than happy to go to the civic meeting. We're more than happy to meet with them.
Okay.
And try to satisfy everybody like we did across the street, but that's.
And that'd be before the next meeting
Yeah,
anyway, so.
That's not an issue.
The time frame works.
They have no problem with that. The only thing that I would stress again, when you look at the size of the bar in comparison to the restaurant, it is, I don't know how this is going to compound the problem much, other than increase the functionality of the business. If you look at the size of the bar, it is tiny compared to the rest of the restaurant. You walk into the inn, the bar is 60% of the restaurant. You know, this is a tiny little enclosure of a bar area. Most of the enclosure is going to be a service area anyway. That being said, no matter what happens, I think the most important thing is police, noise complaints, whatever, but you have the ultimate hammer, because it's going to be a 2-year special use permit, even if it's granted. So if it's abused, or there's issues, and we come back for renewal, and these guys get up with 32 FOIL police reports and summonses, you have the right, you ultimately have the right to revoke this no matter what. So that I think is a big factor.
But if the conditions talk about, you know, we're talking about noise, all right? And Mr. Lupo talked about noise meter. What you don't know is I defended in Valley Stream in-flight newspapers on noise violations. So I know about noise violations.
I'm certified in that instrument as well. I was part of the police department when we got them.
Right. So I'm not talking about your client having a meter. I'm talking
Neighbors.
about a ticket that's pled guilty. That's what I'm talking about.
I understand.
Okay.
I just personally think that, again, if everybody gets along, which is the ultimate goal, it's not going to be a problem. But I just think that type of condition is just going to draw that many more police calls. Even if they're going to be unfounded, it's just going to draw constant calls.
So,
in hopes of getting that ticket.
Mr. Apple, all I'm saying is just balance the equities here.
Yeah.
You want to make money, you want to have a sports bar, which is great, okay? But balance the equity. You don't want a neighbor who has drunken people urinating in their yards, okay?
Listen, I worked on the other side of this,
Right.
as you well know. So
Right.
I understand it, and like I said, you know, I don't know that the size of the bar is going to negatively impact anything. 281 is 281, no matter how you slice it. We could have 281 standing if we want, anyway. But I don't even want to say that sounds like a threat to them. I'd rather work it out with everybody and satisfy them. I'm just saying 281 is 281. Nothing given tonight is saying what we're proposing is really, no evidence was presented that it's really going to impact anything.
And Mr. Apple, I'm not saying that you will work out. All I'm saying is you speak and you try. That's
No, we will. We're definitely going to.
Okay.
We're going to attend that meeting, and we're happy to meet in the restaurant privately as well, after or before the meeting. So it's up to you guys.
You will be at the VFW.
Well, that'll be that, but then we certainly wouldn't mind having you at the location to show you what, you know, what we're doing. So that's no problem. Thanks.
Okay, come on up. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Andrew Opperman, O-P-P-E-R-M-A-N-N, 760 West Beach Street. I wrote something, but I've been sitting here, I've heard everybody speak, and it seems to me, to use an analogy with these people who bought this place, it's all on the premise that they can get a bigger bar to make it viable. So you don't carve a turkey before you buy a turkey. I mean, and there was a 15-foot bar variance that they got that was, it's expired, right? You said?
Not these business owners.
No, the building, the bar itself.
So, those variances were temporary conditional
Okay.
variances also.
So
they
what
didn't-
happens when the when it ends?
Just
So
what
does
you
that
said,
mean the
it's
bar
not
has to
there.
go back to 15, to the length it was? So they want to make a 15-foot bar, which it should be now, if it went back to what it was because of the expired variance, then they want to make a 15-foot bar into a 44-foot bar. Now, I've been here 30 years. Vetoes never seem to have any problems that seem to come after veto. As far as, first of all, nobody's talked parking. They have 25 spaces, they said. 281 people. Are they coming in clown cars? Where are these people going to park?
Fair
Parking
enough.
is difficult now. It gets worse in the summer. And there's another restaurant opening at 780 across the street. There's no parking. Where are these people going to park? There's no parking allowed on the south side of most of West 700 and West Beach Street. Yet, sir, can I speak? You keep holding
Because
the mic up.
I apologize, when you took a breath to pause, I didn't know if you were pausing or finished.
I'll let you know.
So I'm not trying to interrupt
Okay.
you, sir.
People are parking illegally all the time. The man who spoke first and myself, we have to put barricades in front of our driveways so people don't park blocking our driveways. Is it going to get better with this bar? And let's face it, it's a bar. They're not going to have, people are not going to be coming for their food. They're going to come to watch the game and drink. Then they're going to be getting into cars. The road, their parking lot exits and entrances, a one-way street heading north, New York Avenue. People have gone the wrong way on that. The street that's right there next to them, Olive Street, is a one-way street that dead ends right there. People have gone the wrong way on that. There's no good thing to any of this. They want to make money, I understand that. But this isn't the place for a place like that. There's just sports bar, it's going to go on, especially in the 24-hour sports world we're in now. There's games on from the West Coast at 9, 10 o'clock. They're going to be still in there. They're not going to close at 12, or they'll be 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then the noise starts. And then the urination starts. And then the fights start. And then the vomiting starts. You know what it's like living around there when this goes on? So you're just encouraging it by giving them a bigger bar. Please do not give them a bigger bar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Did you
Anyone
want to
else?
ask me anything at all?
No. Thank you. Good night.
I'm good, thank you.
Sir, go ahead. Mr. Delora, you wanted to add something? Jimmy, I'll give you a minute. Just relax.
3 people handed this in to me tonight. Lynn Kreis, 711 West Olive Street. She couldn't stay. Donald McKenzie, 722 West Beach Street. These are all opposing the variance, by the way.
Okay.
And then the last one, Melissa Gebbia, who was here tonight but had to leave early, 214 Lindell Boulevard, Long Beach.
Thank you very much.
Add those. Thank you.
Mr. Lynch, Jimmy wanted to speak?
I'll pass. I thought it was just one and done. I didn't know that people would have a repeat.
Okay, well, we make exceptions sometimes. With that in mind, I think now at this point, the meeting is going to remain open. I would have hopes that both sides would be able to speak and maybe issue some sort of statement to the zoning board before we're asked to vote again on this. I believe it's about a week before Memorial Day, am I correct?
May
Rob?
22nd.
May 22nd is the meeting. So I would just urge both sides to see if they could come to some kind of understanding that would maybe help facilitate a vote by the board. That would be fair to all. All right, with that in mind, let's go on to the next case.
One more case.
Yep.
Case number 3458. Did you say you will remain open for voting? You did, right? You said it would remain open for voting? Okay. Case number 3458, application of Patrick and Lauren Smith of 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.61 lot size, 9-105 5.6H density for a 2-year conditional temporary variance for a 2-family use to maintain a second kitchen at 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 197, Lot 45 of the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Mr. Apple. Just your address again, please.
Good evening, Chairman Early. Kenneth Apple, 30 West Park Avenue, Suite 202.
Could you please speak into the mic? I can't
Yeah,
hear you.
thanks, Ken. So to maintain means that they got a fine or some kind of violation already on this?
So here's this is a straight-up hardship case. And based on my experience with you from the last hardship case, I came prepared as to having to do it throughout the month. I have the packet here for you, Commissioner Markowitz. You get the one with the paperclip on it. How's that? It's a profit and loss. It's all the documentary supporting evidence about the hardship the Smiths are going through, and I'll get into the details in a second. Yeah, that's all. I think there's one extra. I'll take it back if there's one extra. Just let me know. This is a unique scenario. The Smiths own a home at 105 Belmont. It's the first home they purchased. They purchased it in July of 2021. The unique part about this home was the Smiths were actually the tenants there for 6 years and bought the home with obviously poor representation because they felt it would be just a matter of getting a permit to do this again or being able to. It's all right. Don't worry about it. So it's completely unique because they were the tenants prior to purchasing this home. They did it under the assumption they would have supplemental income to support the expenses. The cover sheet I gave you actually has it with a elevated rental income because it's only a 1-bedroom. It's set up that way. What else makes this case unique is it was actually permitted back in 2009. No neighbors have raised an issue. No neighbors have raised an issue, and unless Mr. Lynch is going to oppose, there's nobody even here to. There you go. There's nobody here who's going to even oppose this. So this is a completely unique scenario. Lauren works. Patrick is a music teacher. They have 2 small children that they plan on staying and raising in this home. If they do not get this special use permit, we're not looking for anything permanent, they would clearly have to sell the house based on the costs and expenses of the home compared to their income. The mortgage actually at the time, and it was unbeknownst to them for the attorneys on the board, so there was no fraud, was actually done under the premise that it was a 2-family. They appraised it, they saw the second apartment, the Smiths had no idea, and the mortgage was actually approved with that income, the potential income from the rental being attached to it. Again, just some legal criteria before Lauren speaks and we get into some details. There's no undesirable change to the neighborhood. It's been this way since at least 2009 and probably before, so it's not going to change anything. It's been that way for at least 16 years when it was approved initially. There's no other feasible method. I just handed you a hardship packet. Again, I could supplement it if there's anything you think is missing over the course of the month. So there's no other feasible way for them to afford this house and raise their family there without this. It's not substantial. Again, it's granted in a case-by-case basis. I feel this case fits it based on A, the hardship, B, the fact that they were in fact the tenants there for 6 years before they bought the home. Nobody complained about this. It was a tenant that had left that emanated the complaint. The neighbors have not raised one concern about this. If you look at the way the home's set up from the pictures, it's actually set up as an entrance that goes in there. And it's not going to change the neighborhood in any way. It's not going to have any negative environmental impact on the neighborhood whatsoever, based on the fact that nobody's complaining, nobody's here, and it's already set up that way.
Is this case currently in the city court?
It is. It is. And it was a surprise to the Smiths. Like I said, they used a friend as their closing attorney, and no, it wasn't me. And it wasn't anybody on this board, thank God, but they were poorly advised, and they walked into the situation unbeknownst to themselves. Even the mortgage was done as a 2-family. I mean, I certainly, personally, they wouldn't have signed that document.
I'm just curious, Mr. Apple, do they have 2 meters on the house, or they have just
that? I don't know. It's 1 meter. They included utilities in the.
Mr. Apple, you gave us, thank you for this, you gave us expenses and debt but you didn't give us anything in terms of income.
I'll back that up. I'll get you income over the course of the month. That's no, I'll give you the W-2s. It's about, I mean, you see the income there, it'll be backed up. We did the gross and net on the front, but I'll support that with documentation if you wish.
Please.
Yep.
And the other thing is, I noticed that on the monthly mortgage statement, they are at a past due balance of about, when was this? This was, yeah, so $28,000.
Yeah, they have no income, rental income.
Right.
Since this case has started.
I see.
So, like I said, this is probably as clear a hardship as I'm going to be able to present to you. Like I said, if I'm missing documentation, I'll supply it. It's not an issue. But that's the reason that they're behind. Lauren Smith's going to get up and speak to you and tell you what happened. But like I said, this is unique in the sense that, again, we know it's a special use permit. They've been explained all the conditions of that if they sell the house, it doesn't carry, they have to restore it. They have to come back every 2 years and renew it. You know, I've explained that all to them.
I'm just curious, has there been any attempt for them to negotiate a refi with the bank or any kind of, basically a hardship accommodation to tack it on the end, or, any of the deals that they can make?
Not to my knowledge, because the plan is to catch up and make the mortgage payment.
And that $32,000 that we see is really primarily for how many months of lost rent did they claim? If she wants to come up,
Sure, well, December, I mean, this has been going on for 5 months. But the other thing is, they bought this house in '21.
What's that?
I don't think anybody that bought a house in '21 is going to refinance today, so.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Epp, I was
And as
talking
far
to
as
counsel.
refinancing, anybody that bought a house back in 2021 certainly probably not in a position to refinance.
No, I get it, I get it, I can see that in a tight spot.
I'm sorry, what year did they purchase the house?
21, I believe. Yes. March of 21, yeah. I thought I saw that on the deed.
This is before they removed the kitchen.
What counsel said was the house was previously violated in '09, but it looks like the kitchen may have not been
Right, but I
removed.
think they came to the board and got in '09, they got a variance to get the special use permit, which is why they were able to reside there.
Okay.
So they lived there since 15, I guess. That '09 probably triggered the.
I get it.
No, we get it. I don't have any further questions. Any members of the board have any questions?
Yeah.
Do any members of the board have any other questions? Does anybody does she want to speak? I mean, at this point. Good evening, just your name and address for the record.
Hi, Lauren Smith, 105 Belmont, Long Beach, New York. Just to address the mortgage, we actually did hear back, we have an FHA loan because we didn't have the 10% down payment. We did just get approval today that it's the supplement payment plan where they're taking everything that's past due, they are putting it on the back end, and then it's a 36-month, where they take it over 36 months to lower our payment by, it's about $560. So that definitely is helping us, and we are in forbearance right now. So we're not going in foreclosure as of today. We just got that news.
Now, Ms. Smith, I just want to ask you now, it seems like you're the primary, provider of income. So your husband is a music teacher privately or in a school or?
He teaches at Monster Music in Levittown.
Okay.
So it's like a store where they give lessons.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And the health insurance, you noted that it was like $830 a month. Now, that seems kind of cheap for a family, so do you have any supplemental insurance from work, and that's what you're paying in addition as a benefit, or you have insurance you buy on your own?
No, that's what my payment is. My company covers the rest.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you very much.
And then I just had something I wanted to read quickly, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So we're respectfully requesting a hardship variance to allow us to continue to rent out the one-bedroom home. We were first-time home buyers. We did make some mistakes during the due diligence process. As my attorney said, we use somebody that works for my, is a client of my company, and they actually offered to do our closing for free as first-time home buyers with not a lot of money. We took that attorney up on the pro bono work that they did for us. Obviously, that was a mistake.
You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was obviously a mistake because they were not local to Long Beach, and they didn't explain to us that the variance didn't carry with the property but carried with the owner. As Mr. Apple also said, we lived in the unit for 6 years. This was our first home that me and my husband moved into. He proposed to me in that apartment on Christmas Day. We planned our wedding. We had our honeymoon in that apartment because it was June 30th, 2018, and we said, what's a better place than July 4th in Long Beach? We're not going anywhere. We've welcomed two beautiful, healthy babies. One is Michelle. She's our daughter. She's 3.5 now, and our son just turned 1 in April. His name's Matthew. And we just registered our daughter for pre-K. We're hoping for e-school. In the fall. So we have been in this home for a decade. Like we mentioned, we rented for 6 years. We got the very fortunate opportunity to buy it from the owner directly, off market during COVID when there was no homes for sale. So we were just very fortunate and thought it was an answer to our blessings, starting a family. We got a home. There were some mistakes made, but right now our biggest concern is keeping our family in our home, not uprooting our children from the only home they've ever known, and we hope the only home they have to know, and all of the family. I am from upstate New York. I've been down here for 14 years now. My husband grew up in Massapequa. His family, though, they grew up on the west end of Long Beach. His aunt is on Wilson, so we have a very strong community here in Long Beach and the surrounding area. My mom and sister moved to the city, so we want to stay in this home, and without this variance, we don't know how we're going to be, and unfortunately that means we would probably have to leave the area because we won't be able to find a home in this neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Understood.
You're from upstate New York?
Utica?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's up.
Yeah, we like to say central New York, but I know down here it's upstate.
Anything over the bridge?
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, does anybody want to make a motion on the case?
I'll make a motion to grant.
Yeah, I'll second it, with the condition of a temporary conditional variance.
Yes.
The condition being?
The condition being that basically they are allowed to rent the home, and every 2 years they must come back before the board. And they must reside in the property themselves.
Case number 345.
And own the property.
What's that?
Reside and own.
Reside and own the property, of course.
Case number 3458, application of Patrick and Lauren Smith of 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.6A use, 9-105.61 lot size, 9-105.6H density, for a 2-year conditional temporary variance for a 2-family use to maintain a second kitchen at 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 197, Lot 45, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Alvarado is...
Wait, before we vote, may I make a friendly amendment? Do you take friendly amendments? Friendly amendment is that this vote is conditioned on tax returns being submitted for the next 2 weeks that indicate the numbers that are given on the documents that we received.
I don't think that's necessary. Look at the mortgage thing.
Well, it's a friendly amendment, so I'm asking if you would agree with a friendly amendment.
If that's the case, I'd rather
Then
you
hold
hold
it
it open
over.
for voting, verify first, and then vote, keep it open for voting at the next meeting, as opposed to granting a temporary conditional variance, and then if you don't get it, then we have to come back and pull the variance.
Can we take 2 seconds? I think they're on her phone to send. I can send them off to somebody's email.
Okay.
Verify it now. I mean, it's not urgent that we, other than potentially marketing it for a tenant. I don't mind a couple of weeks, but.
Would you mind if we, well, it's not my, it's up for a motion.
Yeah,
right now, so.
So the motion was made
So it's
by
up for motion.
Chairman, and then was it seconded?
It was seconded.
So-
It was Franklin moved and Rocco seconded.
So that motion is now.
Right, so my friendly amendment's denied, so we go ahead with the vote.
We can go ahead with the vote, yeah?
Well, it would be up to the movement.
I understand.
Case number 3458, application of Patrick and Lauren Smith of 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.6A use, 9-105.6I lot size, 9-105.6H density, for a 2-year conditional temporary variance for a 2-family use to maintain a second kitchen at 105 Belmont Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 197, Lot 45, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Alvarado has introduced a motion to grant the application as a 2-year conditional temporary variance with conditions, and Chairman Morelli has seconded the motion. Commissioner Callahan?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Deny.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with conditions.
This application has been granted with the conditions stated on the record.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and this meeting is now closed. There are several cases open for voting. Until next time.
Oh, let me turn the camera on.
Where you gonna be? Yeah, I know. First class tickets to Greece for the wife.